What's up, guys? Welcome to Lawsplaining the Interwebs. I am your host, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. And today we have a clash of titans, so to speak. I suppose. I don't know. Is that proper? We've got with us Ethan Van Sciver and Jason Yungbluth. Hello, guys. How are you?
Hello, Nick.
I'm doing just fine. I just woke up, I'm having my Boomer Rockstar. Here's my commercial. Sugar free.
And I don't know why we have just a second. I'm trying to fix the Hangouts is set to just presenting Jason right now, and that's my fault. I don't know what's going on with that. Hold on. There we go. There we go. Now it's me.
That's all they should.
It's supposed to switch. And that was completely my fault. Okay, guys, so we're going to have a discussion about the soul of Comicsgate, what it means. The primary topic will be, is it a racket? We'll go from there. I, of course, am Nick Rackets, is my nickname, so you know where I lie. This is definitely a racket. I'm just kidding. Yeah. Let me be clear here about my role for you guys in the chat. I am the moderator of this debate. This is not a 2-on-1 discussion, although it has been much maligned as such on Twitter. No, that my job is to keep things moving, keep things civil, keep things focused on the discussion, and to give each of these guys a little bit of time to talk and make their points without being steamrolled in case things get heated. So I will be taking a largely hands-off position. Oh, and finally, I will, of course, be taking messages from the chat. Now, it has been suggested that people on Jason Yungbluth's side that may be in the chat maybe shouldn't super chat because all the money goes to me, and that is correct. All of the money does go to me, but let me entice you. I hate Fireball whiskey. Hate it with a fiery passion. So any of the super chats that come in for Jason Yungbluth or whatever, Yungbluth, sorry, I'm mispronouncing that. I will encourage those by suggesting that I will take a sip of Fireball anytime one comes. So if you want to see me suffer, just add FB in capital letters to your super chat.
Mix it with apple cider. It's excellent.
Well, that's probably true, but I tend to drink whiskey straight, so we'll see. But let me address a couple super chats, and then we'll get right away. Zephael just sends $1. Thank you so much for that. Jack Straw says, weighing in at 323 pounds, the Prince of Pie, the Lord of Frogs, Caesar of Comicsgate, you are too, Ethan Van Sciver. And then we have GRP poll as, I feel a decent discussion about the soul of Comicsgate would be asking Jason why he thinks writing a webcomic featuring jokes about a little girl being sexually abused is appropriate. And next we have Maddie P on the road says super chat drink, and Gojirify says, will Robbie be here? I don't know. And Cormoran says, as mod, your job is to keep EVS away from the pie. So we will do all of those things.
There's no pie in the house. I've been sober of pies now for 6 days. 6 days.
6 days sober. Are you going to make it, sir? All right, guys, let's get moving on this. So to clarify how this got started, after the last debate with Thomas Roylip, which was a little bit, we'll say lopsided, as Thomas had talked quite a bit about what he was going to do in the debate, and then came to the debate and seemed to fall apart a little bit. Jason had sent me a message. Jason, of course, is the author of the Dramagate tweets, which poke some fun at the Comicsgate movement. I have seen them. Some of them I find very funny, even the ones making fun of me, and I am okay with those. So, that's where we are, and Jason has asked me to host this debate with Ethan, who has agreed. So, Jason has set the topic as, is Comicsgate a racket? And I will ask him the first question of, first, do you want to address the accusations about your comic online that was brought up in the super chat? That's the only reason I'm bringing it here at all. You have been writing a comic, I think you said, for over 10 years that does feature a little girl being abused. And do you want to talk about that real quick for people who might not be familiar? and then we can
Yeah.
get that out of the way and then move on.
Yeah. First of all, let me. I saw one of my fans, Timbertone, scrolled by. Not a super chat, but thank you very much, Timbertone. I appreciate your mentioning me. What's there to say? Clarissa is one of my most popular characters. She's been a feature of first my comic book Deep Fried, and then most recently one of her stories was in my comic book Peak. Our stories with Clarissa have been adapted for animation. They're very popular on the web. But the subject of the comic strip is that she's a little girl who has a father who is sexually abusing her, and that is never depicted. But the difficulty of her life is portrayed with no punches pulled. Some people look at that and they get freaked out. They don't know how to handle it. But it's been enormously popular, and I think the number of victims of sexual abuse who've contacted me and said that they appreciate the cartoon and the message I'm sending with it speaks for itself.
Well, there you go. Hopefully that is satisfactory to you, GR people. And I will say that addressing the topic of abuse, and particularly sexual abuse, has been something we've done on this channel, of course, and it's always an interesting subject to try and broach. So I appreciate the explanation. Gojirify sent me FB, which is just rude, sir. Just rude. I think you might be abusing that. All right, guys. So let's get started with the focus of the debate. Jason, you have said that, or you have asked, is Comicsgate a racket? So would you like to kind of set the premise for that, and so that Ethan can respond, or would you like Ethan to just go off of that basic question?
No, I'll begin. And I'm sorry, I just muted my microphone for a second. Everything is coming through still?
Yep, you're good.
All right. So let me introduce how I got into the subject of Comicsgate at all. So about this time last year, I was following Vox Day's crowdfunding campaign on the neo-Nazi crowdfunding campaign website Freestarter, and I was very interested in his alt hero project. I saw that the money was coming in hand over fist. I was amazed. I was following his comments on the topic on his own website, and I got into a back and forth discussion with Vox and Mark Waid, I believe, is his publisher at his publishing house. Ended up writing a long piece on Medium, medium.com, to sort of chronicle what I'd learned from them and what my opinions of the Kickstarter was. This also coincided with another piece that I wrote for Medium, which was an open letter to Chuck Dixon, sort of tongue-in-cheek, suggesting that he might want to back away from his association with Vox Day. In fact, he has grown ever tighter with Vox Day, and is now actually fully embracing Vox Day's political message with their new product, which is being written by Chuck, about the QAnon phenomenon, which is obviously a conspiracy embraced by many Trump supporters. So from there, I let the topic drop, and I anticipated that there would be not a lot of interest in Alt Hero. He wasn't even selling it in comic shops or physical copies of it in bookstores. But later on, I started to hear about Comicsgate, and I noticed some similarities in the people who were members of Comicsgate and the kind of interest they had in right-wing politics and what they call social justice warriors. And I started to get in just as Comicsgate was starting to decide that they really wanted to push the label Comicsgate and become the new Gamergate. This was, I guess my entry was probably, something like, Yellow Flash's YouTube channel and some of the others. Anyway, this of course connects to Richard C. Meyer, and then finally to Ethan. And I was going to write another piece for Medium on what my takeaway was from what I learned about Comicsgate, and this was going to be right after Richard C. Meyer's appearance on the Comedy Central program that is now notorious. I thought about it. I was like, I don't really have that much to say about it. I don't think anyone's really going to read it anyway. But I was still kind of interested in the topic, and so I began this Dramagate column, which is these lengthy Twitter threads that lampoon the latest shenanigans happening within the Comicsgate movement itself. And after a while of excuse me, of talking to different people, different factions within Comicsgate, if you will, I started to get the sense that Comicsgate itself, for whatever function it might have had as a legitimate critique of certain trends in comics, especially Marvel, that it really had ground to a halt. It's not really going anywhere. It has no. It's a movement with no momentum, with no purpose and no goals. But of course, at the same time, Ethan and his clique were doing gangbusters crowdfunding campaigns on Indiegogo. And it was at that point that I realized that, for whatever conversation is still being had amongst Comicsgate membership, that really it's just the only real center of gravity in the movement and all is raising money for what I consider to be perfectly average comic book projects. This is not a slam on any of them. I think Ethan's a perfectly decent artist, and most of the projects look either serviceable to completely professional. But they're nothing that anyone is terribly excited about on their own merits. They're really riding the wave of Comicsgate, which is been mostly boosted by first Richard C. Myers and now Ethan's stewardship. So the reason I say Comicsgate is a racket is because it's basically just a self-perpetuating money-making machine that has no real possibility or intention of improving anything in the comic books field, except for the welfare of certain independent comic book creators.
Okay, and Ethan, I want you to respond in just a second, but I'm going to take some pauses between these things while you prep your answer to hit the super chats real quick, so we keep on top of those. Gojirify says, "FB, you rude man."
Nice and cinnamony.
Oh, disgusting. Ian House says, "Can I vote for EVS yet?" Jay Sim says, "FB, this is probably a bad choice." And then Great Loner says, "You enjoy the FB while I sip Suntory."
God damn.
Okay, Cars in Death says, "Would Jason do a story about a mother abusing or killing her child? Women are twice as likely than men to physically abuse their kids." Midnight Cherry TV says, "His name is ya boy, show him reverence." And D. Scott Chaos Risen says, "Can't any slug write a piece on Medium?" I can confirm because I have written pieces on Medium, and I am a slug.
Have you really?
Oh, yeah.
What did you write for Medium?
Oh, no, just on my Medium account, I've posted a couple things about the Dick versus Maddox lawsuit. JP4 says FB, and then Jabba the Cuck says loving the low cut top EVS. And now I'll take a sip, and then Ethan, you can go ahead and respond.
Cheers. Yeah. Oh, bottoms up. That's good stuff. Do you want me to get mine? I got a whole bottle of that upstairs. I'm not these little airplane servings. I got a real thing upstairs.
I only have these as a prank. I hate them. But you go ahead and respond. I'm going to give you a couple minutes to do that. I was keeping rough track of time, so we'll keep them fairly even on the time. Go ahead, sir.
Well, I'd be happy to. Man, it's great to be here. It's great to be here with Jason, talking to our number one critic. Or is he number two after Renfamous? But it's a lot of fun to do this. Look, what is Comicsgate? Comicsgate is a movement that kind of grew from grassroots out of necessity, out of political necessity. It started. I always say that it started right around the same time as let's see. There was the Frank Cho incident. There was the Milo Manera incident. There was certainly what was the other one? The other big artist that kind of got their ass handed to them. Anyway, there seemed to be some kind of weird puritanical thing growing in mainstream comics where left-wingers came in and basically took control. They took control. They took domination of what was going on in the mainstream. Hold on one second. Where's my mouse? Give me 1 minute.
In your hand, buddy.
Yeah. No, I couldn't get it on the screen. All right. So anyway, there was leftism. Leftists have taken over the mainstream of the industry, and things needed to change. I mean, comics were basically infiltrated by SJWs. We're watching it happen real time. If you work in comics and you are a right winger, you feel this acutely. And many people who actually, many of these professionals who work with Comicsgate do feel this acutely. They've seen it in their own careers. They've seen how they've been affected by comics, by what has, caused Comicsgate. They felt left wingers kind of breathing down their neck. They feel afraid. And I know so many Republicans who are working in mainstream comics who feel the need to zip their lip. They have to be quiet. They can't express themselves. They can't come out and say, hey, I'm a Trump supporter. It's a simple thing. Half of the country voted for Trump. He's our president. He's going to be president for the next 6 years. It should be a commonplace thing to come out and just say, yeah, I'm a Trump supporter, because that's what people did all during Obama. We had to sit there and kind of eat it up during Obama in comics. There was Obama in Spider-Man. Obama was in all these comics being praised and glorified. And then, as soon as Trump is elected, as soon as Republicans win, Trump is vilified in all these comics. It's a toxic and unfair and unsafe atmosphere for Republicans in comics. That's just a fact. And it certainly is. And I used to receive all these private messages right after the 2016 election. Ethan, shh, you're scaring people. You're celebrating too much. You're celebrating your victory too much. And I'm like, I don't remember saying these same things to people in comics in 2008 or 2012 when Mitt Romney lost. I don't remember this. I don't remember having the goddamn audacity to tell people to stop celebrating the fact that they won an election, that their party is in control of the country. And finally, they're going to get some of their ideas, some of their wishes fulfilled in government. They're actually being represented for once. I don't remember the audacity of that, but that is definitely the way comics are. That is the situation in comics. And ever since that election, it's become more acute. SJWs are doing more and more weird things in comics. They are. They're doing replacement characters. They're replacing beloved white male characters. For some reason, they're all white males. That's the problem. They're being killed off and replaced with these kind of shallow, two-dimensional versions that people just don't seem to be as interested in. How could they be interested? How could anyone create anything better than Stan and Jack? Why? Why is this going on? What is exactly going on in comics? Now, if you are a Republican in comics, you will find it very, very difficult, especially if you're an out Republican. You will be harassed. You will be threatened. You will have your job eventually taken from you. I've seen it happen. All of my friends are suffering from this. All of my friends are suffering from this. And I get messages from people saying, I want to join you. I want to join you because I feel what you're doing. I feel what you're doing is important. I want to have a safe place to go for comics where I can do what I want to do. I can, if I want to, feel free to talk about what I believe the way that left wingers feel free to talk about what they believe on Twitter, on social media. I'm safe to do so. Comicsgate was an inevitability. And it wasn't because of professionals. It was because of the fans. The fans rose up against this. Retailers rose up against this. Retailers rose up against what was going on at Marvel Comics with these replacement characters, the weird social justice ideology, the fact that people who run Marvel Comics, even to this day, are saying weird partisan things on Twitter all the time. Who was it? Sana Amanat the other day saying, I wish this country could sue Donald Trump for, what was it?
He said... Yeah, he said people should be basically put in jail. I think that was the term, was that people should be put in jail for I don't remember specifically what he said. He's from Brazil, right? Like that.
I have no idea. I don't even know if Sana Amanat is a man or a woman. I've never seen this person, but it's a VP. This is an executive at Marvel Comics, and they feel free to just say this partisan gibberish as though everyone agrees with them, and everyone doesn't agree with them. And then they're baffled by Comicsgate. Comicsgate is a natural grassroots movement. It is the fans, it is the retailers, some of them rising up and rebelling and saying, we don't want this anymore. How can we get this to stop? The comic book industry is dying under this regime. It's slowly dying. Sales are going down. They are decreasing. I've seen it because I worked at DC Comics and I've been in the middle of the discussions. I know what they have to do to keep the sales at a certain level. You're seeing things change all the time because they're trying to meet that mark all the time. And so they have to adjust things. They have to more variance, less variance, more frequency in this title, less frequency in this one. They're constantly trying to juggle to keep things at a certain level because of the way things are going. And this is deeply, deeply irresponsible. The comic book industry is irresponsible right now. Now, I personally, after I revealed that I voted for Donald Trump, my personal experience was one of endless tormenting threats. I have been threatened. My life has been threatened over and over and over again. They threaten to rape my wife, these weirdos, all the time. I just got another one on my YouTube today threatening to rape my wife. Had to delete that. I try to make public appearances. It doesn't work. I try to make public appearances and I'm threatened where I'm going to appear. People talk about how they're going to walk up to me and punch me in the face. People openly fantasize about violence in a way that I've never seen. Now, you want to talk about marginalized people in comics. We can talk about Republicans. People with right-leaning views are most certainly marginalized in comics. And if they weren't, a cause like Comicsgate wouldn't be baffling Jason Yungbluth right now and people like him. He wouldn't be so confused about what was going on if he would just realize what was going on. The water that he swims in, that he's perfectly comfortable in, is toxic to right thinkers, to people who have right-leaning views. I've never seen any, I mean, this political environment is probably just as bad as it was in the 1950s. And something needs to be done. So what happens? What do we do?
Sure.
We step away.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna why don't you wrap up this point and then I'll get back. Yep. Go ahead.
Okay. What do? We step away and we form our own industry. They said, go out and do your own comics. We don't want you here. We don't want you here. You're not welcome here. People with right-leaning views are not welcome in mainstream comics. We're going to stand up against you, all of us. We're going to stand up against you and force you out. This partisan misery that we've all been enduring on behalf of these children who can't get over an election that happened almost 2 years ago. They can't get over it, and they're still acting crazy. They're acting crazier every single day. So we go out, we do our own thing. We gather the fans who have felt disenfranchised, I think is a good word. Fans who have felt disenfranchised by people like Jason, by his friends, and we start our own thing. And wouldn't you know it, it's extraordinarily successful. And Jason can't get his mind around it. He doesn't understand. Jason still thinks that the world, people like Jason still think the world is about 80% left wing. Jason doesn't understand the Midwest of this country. Jason doesn't understand that so many of comic book fans, people who grew up with comics, still hold American mainstream values, still vote to the right of Jason. And these people are voting with their wallets. They see these projects.
Does this campaign speech ever end?
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. It ends in 1 second. Comicsgate will continue to grow as we continue to produce great projects for people, and we pay attention to them. We treat them with respect. That's all this is. As we treat our fans with respect, as we speak to them directly through new social media means like YouTube, as we market our projects to these people, we're going to continue to succeed. And people like Jason are going to continue to be baffled and think it's organized crime. All right, there.
All right. So, Jason, are you ready to respond to that, or?
God, yes.
Okay. Well, why don't you do that, and then after your response, I'm gonna hit a bunch of super chats and probably die from fireball ingestion.
Well, if any of you are presume that I am somehow baffled by right-wing chauvinism, there's nothing new under the sun there. I mean, we already have the road to Comicsgate was already paved by Gamergate. I know that Jeremy Hambley, tries to launch a new gate every fucking week. So I mean, I'm not surprised at all by what Comicsgate is up to. And as far as I try to thread the needle here and pay some deference to legitimate problems that companies like Marvel, for instance, apparently do have with overt political messaging not folded nicely into their stories in a way that grates on people who, look, I would never read Mark, to name a comic skater, I would never read Mark Miller's, it's Mike Miller, right? Am I getting his name right?
Yes, you just got it right, finally.
Yeah.
Third try.
I would never read Lone Star, right? Because I've seen the first few pages because they're on his Indiegogo. And what do you get within just the first few pages of it? Heavy political messaging. You've got a white superhero. I mean, I don't mind that he's white, but he's this white superhero taking on Mexicans, and then the Mexicans' big move is, what are you going to do? Turn me over to ice? I'll be out in a week. So I'll be out in a day. So of course, he takes the Mexicans' arms and snaps them twice. Well, so enjoy your trip to ice. Then just one page later, he's like going back to his superhero frat house, and there's a guy with like a cross on his shirt. Now, again, I got nothing against Christians, but the political messaging is right in your face from the first 5 pages. So if that's how you perceive, Ethan, or Comicsgaters at large, if that's how you perceive what Marvel's doing or what other comic book companies are doing, if it's that on the nose, then yeah, I would find that obnoxious. And I know that there are some comics that have tried to be progressive in a way that's just kind of ham-fisted.
Do you find it obnoxious when the president of the United States is depicted as MODOK and all of these things? Does that strike you as a little bit on the nose, obnoxious? Mainstream comics like Captain America being used as commentary for how disenfranchised a writer is, a big mainstream writer is, over the state of the United States. So they actually take it out on the symbol of the United States, Captain America. Do you find that?
You're talking about Tommy Coates' writing for Captain America.
No, I'm not. I'm not talking about
Captain America.
I'm not talking about
Hey, guys,
that.
guys, just a second. It's really tough to hear when both of you are talking. So,
well, I'd like to finish my point before Ethan responds to.
Go ahead. Go ahead and finish.
Okay, yeah. So anyway, this is just to cap off my response to Ethan's opening statement there. He said. So I'm not numb to, I'm fully aware that there are friends of mine and retailers who are friends of mine who have a few things to say about what they consider to be Marvel's clunky political messaging. But that's also only part of their grievances, and some of the grievances that people have also been articulated by Comicsgate. Sales gimmickry, multiple number ones, stuff that exploits the collector. So Comicsgate sometimes touches on those, but they like to lead off with the political messaging because it's the sexiest, and then they never really deviate much from the complaints about some of the political stuff. To get back to the entire scope of the things that could be complained about. But let me end by saying this: people who are Republican or conservative, they're not the only ones who have problems with obnoxious and brittle liberals. I encountered them myself, and it's sometimes they're a pill, but this in no way justifies this reactionary attitude, which is
a business,
no less political than the people they condemn. I mean, there's Trump's Space Force. How unpolitical is that?
I agree. I agree with that. I agree with Trump's Space Force being political, and I had a big issue within Comicsgate over that. I said I want our comics to remain apolitical or at least neutral or very, very subtle. I don't want them to be partisan. And I think one of the problems isn't that there are politics in comics. Of course, there have always been politics in comics, as people are so quick to point out. The problem is that the politics are very, very partisan, and they disenfranchise one side of the aisle. Now, as for Comicsgate not addressing issues other than politics in comics, that just isn't true. We are asserting, some ideas that are kind of retailer friendly, in order to combat, I think, some of these problems that we perceive. I feel personally that the way comics are distributed are outdated. I've said this over and over again. I don't know if you've heard this, but I mean, the way comics are distributed are outdated. Mainstream comics can no longer be solicited at Walmart or Target or any of these places. Since the 1970s, the direct market has held sway over the comic book industry, and thus they've had to make these tough choices, comic book companies, to stay in business, to stay afloat, when their only means of distribution for the most part has been the local comic book store. Yes. That needs to end. That needs to come to an end. And I think if it does come to an end, there are going to be some severe changes at Marvel and DC, but specifically Marvel, about the content of their books. Right now, they feel free to do whatever they want. They can push whatever degeneracy, whatever weirdness they want, whatever anti-chauvinism. Chauvinism. What in the world are you talking about? whatever nonsense they're posting in their comics is going to have to be answered by the market itself if these comics become returnable again. If they have to actually buy back the comics that are unsold, these stacks and stacks of their ridiculous comics with their social justice themes that nobody wants. Jason, nobody wants to pay for these.
Okay, just a second. I got to catch up with a couple chats here, and then we'll get back into it. And I think I've got a good fair question to ask both of you to kind of get back in after I kill myself. Hey Nick, which social media platform do you like better, Twitter or FB? Which I think was just rude of you, least creative. Ryan Long says, I'm a gay liberal. The far left is more abusive to me than the anti-gay Christian right. They terrorize artists who don't kowtow. Ethan is fixing that. Gojirify said, I did multiple FBs New Year's Eve. Blasted FB. GRP poll says FB ×2. So I'm going to chug that in just a second during the responses. Zorak says, this Jason guy seems to think that I am too dumb to buy comics without instruction. F you, Jason. I take time to choose my purchase trebuchet jousting. Ryan Long says SJWs hate liberal minorities more than Trump fans. Great Loner says, how many relaunches has Captain Marvel had so far? Brandon Cherry says, isn't the point of the comics industry #Comicsgate or not to sell comics? It just seems DC and Marvel forgot the point. That's an interesting question. Midnight Cherry TV says, EVS never being a cuck makes this unfair for Jason. Ryan Long says, Jason, I don't consent to being your pet minority. Power Cage says, please, Jason, just stop the soy. Clinging Mars says, Jeremy Hambley.
Is there any, could you read any super chats that aren't complete cliches of Comicsgate?
I'm reading every single super chat that comes through because that's how I do things. Clinging Mars says, Jeremy Hambley, evil man who gets punched for views. Beelzar says, they effed up characters established for 70 years, not creating new ones, while the old characters are selling the biggest movie franchise ever. Tomb says, back Lone Star by Mike Miller only on Indiegogo. That's Lone Star on Indiegogo. And what I'm going to propose is a question to you guys, which I think is in the theme of all of this, in that the theme of this debate is Comicsgate a racket? And Jason, you've asserted basically that Comicsgate is, and I'm not trying to mischaracterize this, so if I'm wrong, please feel free to change that. But the Comicsgate guys are basically opportunistically using a certain political ideology to rake in a bunch of cash. And Ethan is characterizing it as guys are coming in who are not really allowed to make comics in the mainstream anymore, finding a different way to do business and becoming very successful at it. So my question for you to start with, Jason, is it possible that just building a new message and the success that comes from that isn't capitalizing on chauvinism, but rather just answering the requests of the buying customer? And you can take that as you will.
Sure. Well, I said before, I think the Comicsgate has different factions. You've got the Vox Day faction, you got the Van Scieverites, or Van Scieverites. You've got other people. I was talking to a fellow Englentine. I was on his program recently. I think they have a slightly different perspective on what Comicsgate is. So I've tried to absorb all the different angles, of Comicsgate just to sort of, get the most complete picture. But when I say it's a racket, and why can't it just be? Why can't the business angle of it just be, a nice side effect, right? Well, I guess it's because sort of what Ethan just said. So I challenged him to describe, what else is there to Comicsgate really, and his contribution specifically, except for beating the drum for right-wing politics and using that to lure in an audience. And he mentioned the situation with distribution. And I've heard that come up before. Why not make these returnable and so on. I'm not so sure about the returnability. I just don't understand the what it would mean for stores to be able to return comics. I certainly know that that would be trouble for the direct market. I'm not sure how being able to return my comics to me, my unsold comics. I'm a small publisher. If they can return it to me and get a refund, then how does that do anything except help the biggest producers? But but more specifically, it's like, okay, so yeah, you have these ideas that people like Ethan will throw out, but what power do they have to impose them? And for that matter, the direct market, the fact that comic books, the floppies, aren't being sold in newsstands and such, well, that precedes any concerns of Comicsgate by decades. The fact of the matter is, from my point of view, Marvel and DC, as the two big pillars of the comics industry, have not done a lot to grow the young audience for comic books themselves. There's plenty of attention paid to the knock-on products, video games and merchandise and movies, which are much more profitable now. But with DC owned by Warner Brothers and Marvel owned by Disney, I know that there's some business finesse in between them, but they're basically just IP farms for these giant corporations. I don't see Comicsgate having any real interest, or certainly no ability, to compel these companies to change a course and reintroduce comics to the broader market at outlets like Walmart or other places, which is a marketplace they abandoned a very long time ago. If Comicsgate really does have some ideas about how to do it, I think I would have liked to have seen Ethan maybe try to get a conversation like what we're having right now with Joe Quesada, when he finally got Marvel's attention in what I consider to be a big way. He had a bit of a Twitter conversation with Quesada, which I don't think went anywhere, and I don't think really had a chance of doing much with people's opinion of Comicsgate being what it is. But when that shot came, when Comicsgate finally had the attention of the very person they would love to have the attention of, what good came out of it? What did Comicsgate actually manage to do in the person of Ethan Van Sciver? What did they manage to do for the movement? I think it was an opportunity that came and went, and I think Comicsgate basically just jumped the shark at that moment.
Okay, just one second. I just want to say that Joe Quesada is a giant pile of garbage for not coming on my show when I invited him. That's all. Go ahead, Ethan.
Oh, those fireballs are taking hold.
It's only going to get more disastrous.
No, I know Joe Quesada. I've known Joe Quesada for 25 years personally. Getting a hold of Joe Quesada and getting his attention was not a pivotal moment in my life or in the existence of Comicsgate. Indeed, we're not interested in having a conversation and getting change through Joe Quesada or through Dan DiDio or through any of the higher ups at either of the big two companies. That's not who we're talking to. We're speaking to the retailers. We're speaking to the retailers who are actually affected by their policies, and we can actually use the retailers, get the retailers to realize that they can, in uniform, uprise, revolt, and get these changes made to their comics. After all, they're only trying to sell these books, and they tried to stand up to Marvel once and say, we don't like these social justice books, neither do our customers, they're not selling, and we want them to change. And Marvel Comics treated them defiantly. We're going to continue to do this. Why would they do that? Why would they continue to assert their weirdo ideas in mainstream Marvel Comics in the face of the customers, the retailers who actually purchase their product and must take the hit for them? After all, you just explained it 100%. Marvel Comics has virtually no incentive to make any changes whatsoever because they are owned by Disney. They are... Disney doesn't even, they're a blip on Disney's radar. Disney doesn't really care if the comics make any money or not. So there's no responsibility. There's no accountability. And honestly, Marvel Comics doesn't care the other way either, because they can just sell this stuff. Surprise, this is a disgusting comic book that is going to shock and annoy the readership. It's going to preach left-wing politics, and you're not going to be able to sell it, and it's not returnable. And I'm not talking about your comics, Jason. I'm not saying your comics need to be returnable. You don't really, you don't have an obligation to the retailers, and they're not depending on you. But the retailers are depending on Spider-Man. They're depending on the Avengers. They're depending on Captain America, Batman. They're depending on all these comic books to not show penises, to not have, offensive, divisive politics that are going to turn off 50% of their customers. That's what keeps their doors open. They are, you're exactly right, the pillars of the comic book industry. And as readers see this and leave and basically abandon the hobby in sadness and disgust, They come over to us with our theories, our ideas, our plans, our notions, and they get excited again. They get excited for comics again. That is what needs to change. What needs to change, at least on this level, that I can control, because I can't control the fact that Disney owns Marvel and thus has stripped them of any accountability for their product. But what I can do is I can start a grassroots movement to encourage retailers to stand up and demand changes in the direct market. That's what we can do, and that's what we're actively doing. That is how we can promote change in comics. That is how we can force accountability again, and we can get Marvel to stop hiring unqualified people for weird reasons, because
you're saying you can compel the retailers to you can just wag your finger at the retailers and then say, "Ball's in your court."
No. What I can do? No, not me. Not me. The Comicsgate movement can, and we have retailers amongst us. We have what is Comicsgate after all? It's a handful of professionals. It's a handful of young up and coming amateur creators. It's YouTube voices, and it's a whole lot of fans. And together we can promote a message that could possibly change things. And if it couldn't, why would there be any grassroots movements whatsoever? We can use our voices to promote ideas that can change the comic book industry.
Well, a grassroots movement has to be able to move the players that they need to shuffle around. That's what the whole point of a movement is when you consider it that way. So, again, I think you're saying these things.
Don't address what I'm saying. Do you agree with me?
I'm addressing it directly.
No, you're not. You're talking about what a movement is and if we actually have the ability to do this. Do you agree with me that Marvel Comics is exercising zero accountability over their comics because they're sheltered on one hand by Disney and they're sheltered on the other hand by the poor mom and pop shops that basically have to bear the brunt of their decisions? Do you understand that's a serious problem in comics?
But you haven't demonstrated.
No. Acknowledge that.
Acknowledge demonstrated in any way the manner by which let's say
you're talking about my ability to change things, and that's not a fair discussion. I'm asking you. I'm doing what I can. What are you doing except fighting me? I'm fighting on behalf of these retailers. I'm fighting as much as I possibly can to see change in comics so that the comic book industry doesn't continue to go downhill the way it has been. And I've been in this industry since 1993. I've seen ridiculous things happen in this industry. Poor decision making by very emotional and very immature people that are running this industry. Now you need to address.
Nick, can I get a word in here, please?
Just a second.
You can get a word, but answer my points. Acknowledge the fact that Marvel Comics has zero accountability the way things are right now because it's sheltered on one hand by Marvel, and the comic shops absorb the losses.
Okay, I think I've heard that point several times now. Nick, I would like to be able to answer.
Yeah, go ahead, but please do address the point. Does Marvel hold the accountability for not accepting? Pardon me, Fireball. Does Marvel have bear some accountability for not basically not servicing the fans? I mean, do they have it? And for putting comic shops on the line for that? Can you address that first?
I was
and then
right
go ahead.
and just for the record, I was right in the middle of answering that before Ethan started his response to my half-given answer. The point of comics, so Marvel, DC, maybe Marvel's the big bad for you guys. DC, I'm sure you'll be complaining about SJW DC before too long. But the point is, you've laid out these broad strokes of what you would like your so-called grassroots movement to do, but then all I'm asking is, okay, what's the next step? If a grassroots movement or any kind of movement has to be able to compel the change you want, and so now you've got thousands, let's assume, of hardcore Comicsgate people, and Ethan, you've said that they can't affect Marvel directly, so it's up to the retailer. So go ahead and tell me what 5,000, if we were to assume that number, 5,000 diehard Comicsgate fans can do to retail to compel them to make the next level of change. I just don't understand what Comicsgate can do except deduct money from the retailers and give it to you and give it to Tim Lim and give it to Nurkish and Cecil and I don't see Comicsgate consumers having any effect on the retailers in any positive way. And anyway, the retailers aren't the enemy. So what can they do?
No, the retailers aren't the enemy. First of all, Comicsgate does have to deal with the very definite, there's a lawsuit in action right now, problem of SJW interference with our books being solicited through mainstream channels. Maybe you've heard of Meyer versus Waid, which addresses that point directly. These SJWs, I'm sorry if you don't like that term, do actually interfere. They coerce retailers, they coerce publishers, they get in between us and our fans any way that they can. If we have if we have to hand off the comic book to a secondary person before it reaches the hands of a fan, they will attack, threaten, et cetera, that second person, which is why at the moment we have to do this zero pipeline distribution straight from our hands to the hands of the customers until things change. That's necessary.
I'm
not saying it's new. I'm addressing you're saying why you're taking money out of the hands of retailers. This isn't our problem. This isn't our fault. This is the fact that SJWs have interfered with our normal exchange of business in the mainstream comic book industry. We would be perfectly willing to solicit our comics through Diamond if it were at all possible. But it isn't possible. We've seen it not be possible.
Okay.
We've seen what happens.
All right, gentlemen. Let me take a pause here and hit. There's a whole bunch of super chats to get through. So if you guys want to take a moment, I'm gonna suffer through them. To the chat, I've finished the fireball. So bear with me. I will read some super chats and I will find a substitute. I'm really rude of you to try and murder me on stream, but As Pooped by Anakin Skywalker says Ethan Van Sciver is a lying hack. He's lying about being a Star Wars fan, and the whole Rose Rico thing got old fast. Hashtag Trump 2020. D. Scott Chaos Risen says, serious question. If Jason stands up, will there be a sweat mark on his chair? Buddy, if I do, there will be on mine because it's like 1 trillion degrees in my office. Gojirify says, super chat drink. Uh-oh, lost my spot. There's so many of these. Hold on. Here we go. Ryan Long says, I'm a cliche because I reject your bigotry. F you. Hoosier Highway, thank you.
Which of us is that directed towards?
You.
Me.
I say that because I remember when it came in. That's all. Hoosier Highway, thank you for the donation. There's no comment attached. Ragmuffin says Comicsgate is free thought and the consumer. $5 from someone who doesn't exist. It says message retracted. So thank you for not being there. Roger Cruz says FB, which I did actually respond to that by taking a drink of the Fireball. Jack Straw says something that I want to talk about in just a minute. Vox is an enemy of Comicsgate. Tomb says back Gary Shipman Sketchbook 2018 on Indiegogo. P.S. back Lone Star by Mike Miller on Indiegogo. That's Lone Star on Indiegogo by Mike S. Miller. Django Manco says it's not just right-wingers appealing to Comicsgate. CG is more diverse than people think. Proto G says Rekieta Law is quickly becoming one of the best channels on YouTube. Big thanks to EVS and Jason for doing this. Thank you, buddy. I really appreciate that. Antonio Malpica says, as leader of the Deadheads, I declare you king of soy after Remfamous. Hashtag YOLO. Mark C says, Jason, don't you dare include Vox Day with us. We wish him well, but he is most certainly not Comicsgate. Jesse N says, what's going on at Marvel is one of the many factors why I left the Democrats. Identity politics was the other bit. Gojirify says, FB, my good man. Cormoran says, don't show penises or anuses. Roger Cruz says FB because Comicsgate is about entertaining the fans. As Pooped by Anakin Skywalker says it's communism. It's all connected. They're pushing this on us to cause turmoil amongst ourselves. It's the Democrats. It's always been them. Antonio Malpica says Deadheads will rise for EVS. Get it, dead, rise. Darkman McEdgeface says we really should thank soy-filled cucks like Jason. It's thanks to him and people like him that Brett Kavanaugh got confirmed. Thanks, Jason. Although I would note that Brett Kavanaugh has not been confirmed yet, to my knowledge. He's just moved past a cloture vote. Clinging Mars says Comicsgate exposed Joe Q as an ideologue. Nubs the Head says, put on Ouija hat. Bagel Goose says, Cecil is love, all else is meaningless. Great Loner says, hey, Jason, there's about 50,000 of us. Learn to count. Also, FB. And I'm going to stop after this one because there's a bunch more, and we'll get to all of them eventually. But I want to get back to you guys as you're the focus. Cormoran,
is this become more profitable than law for you, Nick? Eventually, I mean, this is.
God,
this
I
is
hope so. Cormoran says retailers aren't the enemy; they're the casualties. And the question I want to get to, and Ethan, I'm going to direct this one at you because I think I directed the first two questions at Jason, and I want to direct this one at Ethan to start, and then Jason can respond. But what do you say about the notion that Vox Day is being included in Comicsgate? Jason brought that up in his opening sort of remarks. You and I have discussed Vox Day pretty extensively, so I'd like to get your opinion on, is Vox Day Comicsgate? And on, I guess as a follow-up, if he's not Comicsgate, does Comicsgate have some sort of standard or gatekeeping that is involved in that? If you could address that, I would really appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's the thing about Comicsgate. It's just something that you announce that you are. There's no gatekeeping. You know, there's nobody who makes that decision. You just kind of have to agree with our principles and you know, subscribe to them, and it's going to be at great cost to you. You may or may not, you know, keep some friends. Some friends are going to abandon you. You may or may not be able to keep your job. It's a big thing to say that you're Comicsgate, to say that you agree that mainstream comics has been overtaken by social justice warriors, and things need to change. That you know, the customer needs to be treated with more respect. The fans are customers. They need to be spoken to a certain way and treated a certain way, and that comics need to remain apolitical. I always have my own individual opinions about who is Comicsgate and who is not Comicsgate, but I don't make the rules. Those are just the fundamentals of what Comicsgate is. So, do I find Vox Day to be Comicsgate? No, because his comics are political. That is the thing. And you know, I encourage people to not put politics in their comics, or if they do, to keep them not divisive, not partisan. I mean, certainly everything is going to be a little bit political, but just leave it open to interpretation. Don't try to sell a particular partisan message. People who do that, I have trouble with. And that is, but that is my own personal opinion. I'm, you know, I'm not the leader of Comicsgate, and I don't get to make the rules. We have had issues with Vox Day. The main thing that that we had trouble with was that Vox Day tried to open up an imprint called Comicsgate. It was an interesting little ruse. In which people who wanted to, he was going to try to trick people who wanted to align with Comicsgate and publish under Comicsgate to come through him. I couldn't tolerate that. I did something that I'm still, you know, a little iffy about, but I exercised, you know, some legal action over control over the word Comicsgate, which I feel I've monetized and I have some ownership over, to prevent him from doing that. That was extraordinarily uncomfortable. I'm still not happy about it, but I felt like it needed to be done to just protect the purity of the movement, so that people didn't have to associate with Vox Day in order to be published through Comicsgate, or so that he wouldn't officially be Comicsgate or be a label called Comicsgate. I know people had trouble with that. That was some, you know, that was you know, that was an issue within our movement that, you know, I think it caused a little bit of a fracture. But I still feel like it needed to be done. So is Vox Day Comicsgate? In my opinion, no. His opinion is that he represents maybe 3 out of the, you know, 5 pillars. So maybe he kind of is. But I find his views to be repugnant, you know, and I don't wish to, I don't align with him. Let's put it that way.
Okay, so Jason, I first want to ask you if you consider Vox Day to be Comicsgate, and then the follow-up I'll modify a little bit since you're in a different position, obviously, than Ethan, would be however you define Vox Day, who do you think gets to decide what Comicsgate is, and is that a problem for the movement? Go ahead.
Sure. Well, let me start by giving you a story from a convention I was at recently. I was at the Buffalo Comic Con in Buffalo, New York. My table was right next to Jim Shooter's. So as the show is starting, a fellow walks up to Jim Shooter, and I don't know if he actually had literature for him, but he was talking him up. And I'm listening to this, and suddenly I hear the name Comicsgate drop. It's like, oh, interesting. It's making its way, into the shows, and it's reached the ears of Jim Shooter himself. And wouldn't you know that it didn't take half a moment before the guy started saying that his favorite member of Comicsgate was Fox Day. Okay, so the guy, talks to Shooter about Comicsgate, says a little bit about this and that, walks away. So I tell Shooter that, I explained to him who Vox Day is, and the guy looked like he had bitten into a cockroach. Okay, so is Vox Day Comicsgate? Well, why don't you ask Jim Shooter, because that's who people are talking about to him when they're talking about Comicsgate. Mm-hmm. Ethan has been awfully coy about his relationship with Vox. He's not. He hasn't denied certain things, but he's revealed quite a bit about his relationship with Vox Day and Vox Day's work that makes me think that if even if Vox Day were to drop dead tomorrow, the spirit of Vox Day within Comicsgate would be alive and well within Ethan. Ethan has said just recently, I'd heard him say this on your Nick, on your stream in another episode, but just recently in one of his videos, Ethan said that he's listened to both of Vox Day's books on social justice warriors on tape.
They're
these
excellent.
Books are incredibly bigoted and filled with just outright paranoia and absolute hatred for everyone that Comicsgate thinks isn't really the mainstream of comic book fandom. Hatred for women, hatred for anyone with blue hair or different colored hair, hatred for blacks, hatred for transgenders. These books are loaded with just absolute disgust for what is always been the core of fandom, which is the nerd, the geek, the weirdo. These are who comic book fans are. And, if time permits, I'd love to read to you from one of these books. But regardless, yeah. Ethan is a fan of Vox Day. He's read his books. He's got Vox Day's fucking phone number. I mean,
no,
Jesus
I don't.
Christ, how much more in bed with Vox Day can you be?
No, I don't.
Hold on. Let me clarify one thing. Blue hair is absolutely degenerate and needs to go.
It is. It's disgusting. I was nodding my head through most of that until you got to blacks and women, and I was like, no, that's not what it is. Yeah, SJWs are degenerate, and those books are
degenerate.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not something you can say about comic fans and say because they're lesbians or because they have weird hair.
No. I'm not saying that about comics fans. I'm saying that about degenerates. There's a
Which
difference.
are comics fans by your definition.
No. My fans are comic book fans, and they're not degenerates. They're the salt of the earth. They're the best people on the face of the earth.
Yeah,
I've been very clear. You know what? Here's the thing, Jason. You can actually follow my relationship with Vox Day very closely. I have a YouTube channel called Comic Artist Pro Secrets. I'm speaking from it now. And every interaction that I've ever had with Vox Day is chronicled very closely on my channel. It's all built around me opposing him, opposing what he's doing. And in fact, Vox Day's alt hero gave birth to. It was pretty much, it caused Comicsgate to grow in opposition to what he was doing. And that's factual. I always felt like something needed to be done. I always felt like SJWs had taken over the industry and were in too much control. You are welcome to go watch those videos and glean what you might. He comes on and he's interviewed twice. Now, I know Vox Day. Vox Day calls my house. I do not have his phone number. Whoa,
why are you
no, I don't.
A white nationalist who's
hey,
fucking...
Hold up a minute.
Hold on.
I'm about to make a point that you don't...
All right.
I don't have his phone number. He has my phone number. He lives in Switzerland or something like that. So his number comes up, no caller ID or no caller data. Whenever he calls and I go, oh, it's Vox Day again. And I've talked to him. I used to talk to him once a week and chat with him about what his ideas for comics were. I disagree with him. The more I've learned about Vox Day, the less I like Vox Day. Vox Day thinks he is a master planner and a schemer, somebody who can infiltrate and take over Comicsgate. That's always been his plan. He ran into a brick wall with me, Jason. However, I will talk to almost anybody on the phone. I'm like that. If you call me up, I'll talk to you. If you call me up, I will talk to you, even though we disagree, because that's the kind of guy I am. I'm very, very friendly. And I do have many friends who are left-wingers. I promote them on my YouTube channel. I have friends that are social justice warriors. Go look at my Dan Slott interview. Go look at my Mark Waid interview and see how I treat people. I treat people with opposing ideas with respect.
Well, you don't just treat Vox Day with respect. You are a big fan of his writings, his political writings, which are a gateway right into the alt-right. I mean, you've admitted that you like his books.
I don't think being opposed to SJWs is a gateway to the alt-right. I think it's a gateway to sanity in this country. The alt-right is something completely different. It's about white nationalism. It's about the ethnic state. I oppose all of those things. I oppose all racist and bigoted ideas. I do not oppose standing up to and opposing people who have poisonous ideas at all, and that includes SJWs. Now, what the interesting thing about SJWs always lie and SJWs always double down is they are a handbook, a guide for dealing with what we have been dealing with for the past year and a half, which is being swarmed and attacked on social media by social justice warriors. Those books actually lay it out, make sense of it, explain how to deal with it, explain what you should do and shouldn't do, why it's happening, and what the inevitable result is. And I will tell you, as somebody who has been the victim of recurring social justice warrior attacks on social media to the point where you feel numb. I mean, it's a really, when you're being attacked and swarmed by social justice warriors, everybody experiences the same thing at first. They think that they can apologize. They think they can talk their way out of it. They think that they can fix it somehow, and they can't. Vox Day's books, and I disagree with Vox Day. I find him to be a repugnant individual. Vox Day's books, however, are the ideal manual for understanding, coping with, and dealing with what is a traumatic experience for anyone that goes through it. And I recommended them to all of my right-wing friends, all of my righty friends, in how to deal with social justice warriors when you are being attacked, when you're being swarmed. Now, Jason, you are a social justice warrior, so you don't know what I'm talking about. You've never been on the other side of this. You don't know what it is. You don't know what it is to have a whole lot of people, calling for your job, attacking you, writing letters of a campaign to get you fired from your work, sending you threatening messages, filling your email, filling your private message, your direct message boxes with hateful threats, starting rumors about you, digging up your past financial records, revealing them to the public. You don't know what that's like. No, you don't know what that's like.
I have no idea what it's like to be maligned online. I've never encountered it.
I'm not talking about being maligned online. We're all maligned online. I'm talking about an organized harassment campaign to destroy your life. And that's what social justice warriors do. That is what they do. Now, Jason, you don't have to, you can say, Everybody in the chat right now who's been a part of this knows exactly what I'm talking about. The fact that you don't is like a goldfish saying, what's water? Yeah, you're a part of this. You are a part of this.
Let me touch on a couple
That's
points.
what
You've made enormous presumptions. You made enormous presumptions about. First of all, I do love how Comicsgate
let's not make enormous presumptions.
Throws around the word, the label SJW at the drop of a hat. Okay, every one of their enemies, no matter who they are, no matter what they stand for, is an SJW. I like to say, by the way, when relating to Vox Day and the alt-right, I like to remind people that you can't spell Jews without SJW. Okay. Now, Ethan has just sat here and told us and confirmed everything that I've stated.
I didn't. You said you
I don't like Vox Day.
And I said yes.
Hold on, Ethan.
You have his phone number, and I said no, I don't.
But I like what he's got to say. I don't like that Hitler guy, but there's something about Mein Kampf that I really agree with.
Something about his.
Hold on. Whoa. You can, and I'm gonna let you talk, but I wanna clarify something because I hate this line of argument really quickly. In that one, if you're saying that so and so can't read and listen to Vox Day, then I can't read and listen to you because we have diametrically opposed viewpoints on some things. And while you may find Vox Day repugnant, I find lots of his views repugnant, and I don't think Vox Day is a big fan of me either at this point. But I find plenty of his views repugnant, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't have something to say. And I don't want to allow the point of, you can disagree with Hitler, but find a lot to say in Mein Kampf. that doesn't mean if you want to hear about people who disagree with Hitler but still agree with some of his perspectives, Germany has Nazi era laws that they decided that they liked, even though Germany disavows Hitler extensively today. For example,
and many people drive Volkswagens.
And
I mean,
you can't homeschool in Germany, which is actually something that's really important to me, because of a Hitler Nazi regime where they wanted to indoctrinate children. Germany decided to keep that, and but they still largely disavow Hitler. So let's not go with you can disagree with Hitler, but find things in Mein Kampf, because that's like a loaded statement. So
okay, let's be
yeah,
clear.
go ahead.
Let's be
Go
clear
ahead
about the writings of Voxday. Okay. First of all, his writings are not limited merely to his 2 books on his philosophy. He's also got a blog that he updates every day. And let me just start this for 1 second, just to give those of you who are still not quite clear, those of you in the chat, we're not quite clear on where Voxday is coming from. So this is from Voxday's own page, his own website, what the alternative right is, what the alt-right is. He's got a 16-point manifesto. Here's number 14, just to make it perfectly clear. The alt-right believes we must secure the existence of white people and a future for white children. Okay, that's straight from fucking Mein Kampf, right there. It's a bastardization of words from Mein Kampf that the Aryan nation has been using, and then this is his, slight bastardization of that. So let's not be deluded about, Ethan says, I learn more about Voxday, every day, and I the more I learn, the less I like. It's like, dude, it's right fucking there.
I agree with you, Jason. I know that. He
raises money for Alt Hero, alternate alt-right hero. He raised it on Freestarter, which is this scuzzy fly-by-night of Indiegogo style website that raises money.
Can you get Voxday in here so Voxday
can
answer?
Why are
we talking about Voxday?
So just to be clear, so Nick, I thought this was my time.
Well, it is. I'm just not. But I'm.
Finish up because I can tell Ethan's confident.
No. 1 second though, because Voxday isn't here. Ethan has denounced Voxday over and over. I've denounced I don't like Voxday. Finding something in his.
This does get to a point that has to do with Comicsgate. Okay.
All right. Well, hit that point, please.
Right. Well, the reason we're even indulging in this is because Voxday was briefly a welcome member of the tribe, covered lovingly on Bounding into Comics, where his comic books are still reviewed. He has drafted Chuck Dixon to work on his products. And I know Ethan tried recently, said, Chuck, come on over to Comicsgate. Chuck is already in Comicsgate. He's doing work for Tim Lim. He's doing work for Voxday. He's doing his own stuff that's being promoted through Comicsgate. He's been in Comicsgate longer than any of you. So, stop trying to pretend that Chuck Dixon is some babe in the woods here. But when it comes back to
is there anyone else
Voxday's
you'd like to
when it comes back to Voxday's books, just want to point this out. Ethan Van Sciver, on any podcast, on any YouTube channel, on any conversation he does, he says things that are torn right from these manuals, these Voxday manuals. And these manuals, Voxday lives, breathes, and eats the alt-right. Everything he writes is about the alt-right, and everything he encourages people to do is a gateway into the alt-right. SJWs always lie and SJWs always double down are alt-right manifestos. And Ethan Van Sciver is an admitted fan of them. Now,
I love them.
And plus, on top of everything else, he's got the guy. He talks to the guy on the phone. It's like, but I'm so open-minded. Okay, well, there's an old quote, I believe. It goes,
hold on. I gotta stop you. I gotta stop you. I gotta stop you. Are you suggesting that it would be more open-minded to not talk to Voxday?
Let me answer that with this scenario. Here's my phone call with Voxday. Hey, Jason, it's Voxday. Voxday, you mean that piece of shit neo-Nazi who I wish would die in a fucking plane crash? Click. That's how you fucking deal with Voxday. You're gonna make me mad, Ethan. But no, go ahead. And
Nick, what is going on? Help me.
If you want, go ahead.
Nick, listen, that's not how I deal with anybody. And there are people that I absolutely despise that I'm still going to talk to on the phone because I treat people like human beings, no matter if I disagree with them or not. Even the worst SJW, I'll still talk to them on the phone if they call me because I want to find out what they're doing, what they're thinking, what they're up to. I believe. How would I know? How would I know? Voxday is on the right Okay, he's a right winger. I think we can say that. How would I know that I don't like Vox Day unless I actually talk to him, unless I find out what's up with him, if I get him to account for himself and explain himself. Now you're gonna go, Jason. You're gonna push this Vox Day thing, and you're going to find out very, very quickly that my entire history with Vox Day has been one of turmoil, disagreement. You're gonna find out that Vox Day's entire YouTube channel is meant to denounce me as a cuck. That's what it is. If you go watch him, he talks about me being a cuck. He's very disappointed. Vox Day's very disappointed that I'm not alt-right. He really wants me to be. I am not alt-right. And his entire YouTube channel, and in fact, the last month of his blog posts have been decrying me for being a cuck and not joining the alt-right with him. So, I mean, I'm sitting here going, yeah, look, Vox Day has said some very important things in terms of those two books. SJWs always lie. SJWs always double down. I think maybe, those books might be a gateway to the alt-right for some people, but I don't think that necessarily follows. I think if you are somebody who has right-leaning views, who is at work with social justice warriors, it describes perfectly what happens to you in any office situation where SJWs decide that you have run afoul of them. It describes what's going to happen to you, how to deal with it, what your best resolve is, why it's happening. All of these things are important, and I think those books are important. Now, I decry Vox Day. The 14 words, that was the first thing I found of him where I realized this guy is a Nazi. This guy is a legit Nazi. I didn't like that. But no. But even still, Vox Day wants to work in comics. Vox Day represents some aspect of the right wing. Some people agree with him. Some people do not. I don't think Comicsgate likes him at all. My wing of Comicsgate, which is the mainstream version of Comicsgate, I would say, the ones with the principles that I just elucidated earlier, was horrified when Vox Day opened up a Comicsgate imprint. Horrified. And they asked me to do something about it. We talked about it. We came up with a solution for how to isolate and eliminate Vox Day from Comicsgate. We did what we could. But again, Comicsgate isn't really a thing. It's just a set of ideals. It's a word. It's a set of principles. And basically, anyone can say they're Comicsgate, and it's up to somebody to actually ask and inquire. Does this guy match the description of what Comicsgate claims it is? Comicsgate principles? Is this guy definitely Comicsgate? I think most people looked at Vox Day, rejected him a long time ago. I do not have Vox Day's phone number. That's just a fact. If I had it, I would tell you. I literally don't have his phone number. He has mine. I used to speak to him on the phone. Vox Day is he's got a lot of problems in terms of what he believes. But at the same time, Vox Day is a very nice guy. When you speak to him, he's a charming man. He's fun to talk to, but he's a despicable human being. He's a Nazi. So we have spit him out. He's a non-issue. But
at what point did you come to that understanding? I'm just curious because and I'm also curious how Vox Day has your phone number, but at what point in all your conversations with Vox Day did you say to him, you know what, Vox Day, I've just come to the conclusion you're a despicable Nazi and I'd like you to separate from comedy. Did you ever have that conversation? Because I seem to remember that when Vox Day was pretty much allowed into the party, and he only was booted when he stuck his hand in the cookie jar and suggested that he'd like to brand some of his own comics with the Comicsgate name. And then you slammed the fucking lid on him real fucking fast. But until that moment, Vox Day was, he was going around the party, drinking punch, having fun with everyone.
What is this? Okay. What do you think is going on here? There's a party and he's invited to it. What is this world that you live in?
The
there's a party that we're all...
The fun party that is Comicsgate.
It's a fun party.
Vox Day, John Delaroz were welcome guests at that party until Vox got greedy. And you know what the funny thing is about, I love this, telling this to you. The funny thing about Vox Day attempting to brand his own shitty comic books with the Comicsgate name, if he'd been a little less greedy, he could have just registered that trademark himself and it would have been his before you even knew it. And then Alt Hero would be a Comicsgate product. So, you should be grateful that he's stupider than he thinks he is, which is quite stupid.
All right, guys. So here's.
Oh my God,
if you want to praise Vox's intelligence, now go right ahead.
I was going to say you keep wondering how Vox got Ethan's email, but I wanted to remind you that Vox is very smart.
It's not hard to get my info.
let me do this. Let me do this. Did I say email, phone number, whatever? Let me.
No, got all of it. You got, I don't know how we got it.
Let me do this real quick. I'm gonna ask you guys a question and give you, because this is a little bit different theme than what we've been doing so far, whatever that is. I'm gonna ask you guys a question, give you guys a few minutes to prepare your answers while I handle like a deluge of chats here. So you guys be thinking about the question. We've talked a lot about problems with the comics industry and with Comicsgate. I want both Jason and EVS to tell me how Comicsgate helps solve the comic industry issue, because I think that's the core of all this, right? EVS, you guys in Comicsgate are saying, well, we're not allowed in this medium, so we're going to go over here and do it our own way. And so does, I guess, is Comicsgate designed to fix the comics industry, and should it be, and how does it do that? And then Jason, you tell us from outside of the Comicsgate group what Comicsgate should be doing to work on and fix the problems that you've admitted exist within this industry. And while you guys think about that for a minute, you can sit here and listen to me slur through a couple of these chats.
I'm going to ponder that, but I'm going to be AFK for 1 second.
Yep,
because I got to hit the room of requirement. Okay.
That's fine. That's fine. You do that. Antonio Malpica says EVS Detective Dead at $17,395. Thank you. Long live Comicsgate community. Deadhead stand with EVS. Amoeba says Cecil wins debate. JP4 says all hail FB Deadheads. Guys, I'm out of Fireball a long time ago. I appreciate it, but I'll drink some Suntory Japanese whiskey in just a second. Gojirify says Rick is going to get wrecked. FB. Hoosier Highway says Comicsgate is about earning money, not being given. Spookmeyer says, Rackets, you hit 10K. Here's whatever is the shorthand for good whiskey. Super chat, drink like Kavanaugh at a high school molestation party. Oh, buddy, I'm already there. Boz says, can Jason hear Ethan over his own condescension? FB. I think you guys are abusing the FB. Brandon Cherry says, Comicsgate is bringing in new comics money. I wasn't buying any comics till EVS brought me back into the fold. Shuru says the consumers are the gatekeepers of Comicsgate. I agree that seems to be the issue, and that's also a bottoms-up movement hallmark. Midnight Cherry TV says Jason will kiss Cecil's ring or be punished. We'll tell him when he gets back from the bathroom, I guess. As Poop by Anakin Skywalker says Comicsgate/Gamergate is and always will be about ethics, not money. Antonio Malpica says Detective Dead on Indiegogo by your boy Crid, not Zach. Andy the Kid says, Ethan, how would you explain to the local comic shop that supporting current comics or not as financially affected, that current comics is hurting them in reality? Leo, the bum tickler, says, if you're tired of this talk about comics and want some real action, come on down to Looney Leo's Haram. We got the hottest girly boys and ladies with the youngest cocks. Bigots welcome. All right. Emery Kalame says, Nick, can you have a show with Jim Shooter? I don't know who Jim Shooter is, but sure. Bean from PA says, bet he hasn't even read them, referring to the Vox Day books. As Poop by Anakin.
I listened to them.
I think he's talking about Jason not having read them, if I had to guess. As Poop by Anakin Skywalker, you're the one that hates those people you listed. You're a Democrat, aren't you? GRP Poll says, drink more FB, Nick. Great Loner says, I ain't no degenerate, Jason. Go soy yourself. Gojirify says, check out Cap's video, EVS versus Vox Day. Leo the Bum Tickler says, also good morning, you degenerates. Ryan Long says, Jason, I just said I'm gay. You dismissed me as a cliche. Quit pretending you care about minorities. All SJWs do this to minorities. You are a bigot. Ragmuffin says, commies always narrow an issue to the smallest thimble. He reduces a whole spiritual movement down to one man. They never think in broader terms. As Pooped by Anakin Skywalker says, liberalism/Democrats/the left as a whole are the real racists. All of this was caused by them. Everything was fine before you guys show up. Don't deny it. We all know it. Tomb says, back Asgard by Ben Jones, only on Indiegogo. The man from Aunt says, Aunt, A-U-N-T, says, this guy is confused and defensive. Bielazar says, perfect SJW example, RE Vox Day. Disagree with one thing, and that person is now the enemy, diseased, anathema. Antonio Malpica says, back Detective Dead. Coyote says, Jason, good job convincing me Ethan is right. Vox Day sounds interesting. Thanks for recommending him. Django Manco says, Alterna lives. Support Alternaween on Indiegogo. Jack Straw says, back brand on Indiegogo. The creators are black. If that will make you SJWs, buy it. Hashtag Comicsgate. Tomb, Comicsgate rejects identity politics. Vox is identity politics. End of story from Mike S. Miller. James S. says, Comicsgate rejects identity politics. Vox Day is identity politics. End of story. JR says, you're out of your league, Jason. Bend the knee. D. Scott, Chaos Risen says, he lost me. E has publicly denounced Vox Day multiple times. Vast majority of comics fans don't want identity politics. We love women, except Mike S. Miller. We love all races, and we love all people. I'm super hot as well. Mark C. says, Jason, if you dislike the term SJW, how about we call you social Marxist? Django Manco says, if you can read the chat before the show started, if you read the chat, before the show started, we all predicted Jason's arguments right down to the Sinestro parody. Matty P on the road says, not gonna lie. Camo Man.
I haven't mentioned the Sinestro parody at all.
Is that coming?
Not gonna lie, Camo Man is sounding like Maddox with the online harassment campaign. Just saying, patreon.com/Asterios. As Poop by Anakin Skywalker says, communism has killed 110 million people and you're okay with that. Leo the Bum Tickler says, people can read Mein Kampf and agree with Hitler. He was misunderstood. Please stop being such a wiener and stop telling people what to do. Brandon.
Everything that I ever needed to know about Comicsgate is coming through so loud and clear in these super chats.
Sure. Brandon Cherry says, next time, can we find someone competent to debate EVS? JR says, who is this soy boy debating, EVS or Vox Day? As Poop by Anakin Skywalker. Alt-right equals incels. They're the same thing. Man from AUNT. Every point flies over this guy's head. Clinging Mars says, guilt by association with Vox Day. Typical SJW tactic. It's probably in Vox Day's book. Mark C. says, dude, Vox Day is not Comicsgate. He's never been Comicsgate. Get the wax out of your ears. That was in all caps. I was supposed to scream, but I forgot. Rick Nikeda says, the alt-right boogeyman strikes again. The Caution Zone with B. Hennessy says, my family was threatened and my friends harassed. Titus Andromedon says, doesn't Amazon carry Vox Day books? JR says, maybe that's how we should deal with you, Jason. I think not listening maybe was the thing there. Rhino Force 563 says, super tough. Wow, super tough soy boy. Matt Hayes 2000 says, I'm almost done, guys. Just bear with me. I thought I was almost done. Why don't here we go. I found it. What about Amazon and other online businesses that sell Vox Day comics? What about Marvel and other creators that openly post bigotry on social media? And that's the final question of this debate that we'll get to. As Poop by Anakin, wait, who's Vox Day? No, seriously, I've never heard of Vox Day. Sharky says, you disavowed but not hard enough. Quote, SJWBS. Vince Rush Art says, EVS is the only one making actual points. Cormoran says, Yungbluth, you speak the same identity politics Vox does, view minorities with the same lack of respect he does. I'm not surprised you don't see it. Medium Giant says, why are people allowed to talk to people with different viewpoints without being branded as... Why are people not allowed to talk to people with different viewpoints without being branded as aligned with them, Jason? Why do you hate open discourse? As Poop by Anakin Skywalker says, if he says he hates Vox Day, he hates him. Deal with it and just accept it. What more do you want? Why is it so hard for you to just accept it? Steve DeJohn says, Jason wants no one to speak to people he hates, even if they also dislike him, even if they are complicit with him. Very bad precedent. Mark C. says, Ethan, don't forget 50,000 of us are at my house for our club meeting next week. Please get me a head count for milk and cookies. Anakin Skywalker says, people who hate Jews are just lazy cowards that refuse to accept responsibility for their own problems. They're pathetic. The Dallas Deadeye says, Yungbluth has no idea what he was talking about. Vox was never in Comicsgate. F Moose. And this is I'm going to stop with Cecil's and then we'll move on, which is just 2 away. Zorak says, Jason is mad for the sake of being mad. It is disappointing. He needs to learn about economics, trebuchet jousting. Cecil says, I'm drunk and wonderful if I do say so myself. So with that, gentlemen, and I will start with Jason, I think. How does Comicsgate, how should Comicsgate be solving these problems in the comics industry that you have acknowledged are present? And I'm going to take a sip of whiskey and tell you to go, sir.
Thank you. First of all, for all those people who made those comments about me, your whining is like a sweet lullaby to me. As for what to do about comics, well, this is kind of the trick of Comicsgate, because I do believe there are some people within it who are earnest about wanting to just improve comics on a certain level. But let's start with this. First of all, as far as the message, okay, let's give Comicsgate the benefit of the doubt and say they have a message, which I acknowledged earlier. Some of the writing at certain comic book companies could be better. Some of the art could be better on some of the books. People got very upset when, for a brief period of time, some of their favorite characters were substituted with other, teen sidekick type characters that they were afraid were going to last forever, but of course they didn't. But the message, if you believe in Comicsgate wanting to improve the industry through, just superior comic books, right? Better writing and better products at Marvel and DC especially. That message has been delivered. No one is unaware of your complaints at this point. So on that level, Comicsgate literally has nothing left to do. The reason I brought up Caseta earlier was just to point out that the highest echelons of Marvel Comics and writers like Gail Simone, at DC and Marvel, they're all aware of what you're saying. So if you got anything, you don't have anything left to say on that matter. The message has been delivered. So you can't move the needle anywhere there. There's one thing that Comicsgate could do if they wanted to, but that's been discouraged by anyone who has any pull in Comicsgate. If you really dislike Marvel Comics that much, then pull off a boycott. Boycott the next month of Marvel Comics, or pick a month and say this is the month we boycott. We show the Marvel Comics hell machine that we have this much strength. Do it. I fucking dare you. Go ahead. Prove you're 50,000 strong. I would love to see that.
Can I just answer that one real quick?
Wait, hold on. Hold on one second.
I suspect that will not be forthcoming from Ethan or from anyone with any pull in the business.
Hold on. One second.
He wants, but he's never going to tell you to stop buying them, right?
Okay, one second. Hold on.
This is the whole point
I want
of what
Ethan. You got 30 seconds.
The idea of pulling off a boycott hurts retailers. It doesn't hurt Marvel. Jason, this is the entire point of this. The entire point.
Have no other arrows in your quiver. And I'm not saying
hold on. Hold on.
Right?
I'm flexing moderator God status. Ethan has 30 seconds to respond, and then we'll go back. I'm going to hard cut him off at 30 seconds from right now. Go.
The problem is that a boycott would consequence the retailers, not the companies. As we've said, the retailers bear the brunt of all of these bad decisions. If comic consumers stop buying comics, it's going to hurt the local retailers. Marvel will never feel it. They'll never feel it. So there's no point in that. And as for, that's it. I'll just make that point and move on. I'll answer all my stuff when it's my turn.
Nick,
perfect. Back to you, Jason.
Respond to that?
Yeah, no, you're back on your time. Go.
Okay, great. So yeah, fine. Let's just be clear. The different strategies that the mass of Comicsgate could use to influence whatever kind of change they want. Message about we don't like too much diversity in comics. Okay, message sent and received. Okay, so there you go. You've pulled that off. Good job. What about teaching Marvel a lesson by showing just how strong Comicsgate is? No boycott because that'll hurt the retailers. Fine. Okay, so there's one thing that you're not even going to attempt, and I'm not suggesting you do it, but okay, so there's something that is a dead issue. That leaves something Ethan mentioned earlier. 3, retailers. Retailers, do something. Do something we can't identify that will move the needle of Marvel and DC. What is it? We don't know. Are we going to help you? No, because we don't know what it is we want you to do. But we'll just put the ball in the retailer's court. And in the meantime, and this is number 4, Comicsgate is then instructed, okay, while we're waiting for the retailers to decide whatever the hell it is we think they should be doing, which is absolutely nothing, why don't you come over to our Indiegogo campaigns and fund these comic books, which we will then not even try to get into stores, thereby not even giving retailers a superior product to sell. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I heard Ethan say that he's not even going to make the effort to get Cyberfrog into Diamond Comics when he could absolutely do that. He's got over $500,000. It would be passing easy to simply print off another, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 units of Cyberfrog and put it in stores in like 3 months. I don't know why you're not doing that, or I don't know why.
Because you don't know. Because you don't know what I'm doing.
Jawbreakers. I don't think he's planning to put that in stores either. You guys are sitting on an ass load of money, but none of you are trying to sell in stores, and you claim you want to help the retailer.
No.
Okay.
He cackles, he laughs, but it's true.
Well,
hey, look,
It isn't true. You don't know what you're talking about.
I think you're
You
about.
don't know what you're talking about.
I think you're about
No
to
offense.
find out why he's laughing. Are you good, Jason?
Yeah, no, that's fine.
All right, Ethan.
So, well, can I just let me put a cherry on.
30 seconds. 30 seconds.
Yes, 30 seconds. Yeah. So, in other words, Comicsgate, you've done all you can. There is literally nothing left for you to do except continue to buy the next product that Ethan Van Sciver and Tim Lim and Chuck Dixon and Box Day put out. You can continue to do that, but your ability to move the needle is expired. You got nothing left.
All right. So
ahead,
that was 25. You have
Jason,
1 second. Okay, go, Ethan.
Done. Comicsgate is consumers leaving. Comicsgate is people leaving the mainstream. We don't need to do anything else except build an alternate raft for them to climb onto. The mainstream industry, the mainstream comic book industry is Titanic. We are a lifeboat. We're several lifeboats at this point. Our job is not to fix the mainstream comic book industry. We've pointed out exactly what's wrong with the mainstream comic book industry. Other people understand. They believe us. They've been experiencing the same things, and they're joining Comicsgate. We don't need to fix things. This idea that we're here to fix the mainstream comic book industry is a folly. It's incorrect. We can't. We're here to save what's good about comics with Comicsgate. We've given up the mainstream comic book industry mostly for dead. We've given you guys advice about how you can fix things. We've given retailers, an idea about maybe what they could do to straighten out their own situation. But Comicsgate is not here to save you guys from yourselves at all. F you. I mean that in a broad sense. F the mainstream comic book industry.
Off the retailer.
No. You guys can do whatever you want to do. We've given retailers the answer for how they could stand up for themselves and fix this thing. But we're not, honestly, we don't benefit from this. We don't benefit from, Marvel Comics changing their ways. On the contrary, keep doing it. Keep putting stupid, awful comic books out there and people will keep coming to us. That's fine. Again, we're not here to solve your problems. We're here to create our own miniature industry, free and independent of the control of far left wingers. Now, as for Cyberfrog, you don't understand my business model. I've explained it over and over again, but you don't listen. Cyberfrog and all of my comics are going to come out in this pattern as though they are movies. They're going to come out initially with a red carpet premiere, limited edition chromium signed versions, which my biggest fans, people who cannot wait, can buy into at a $25 level. After that, after they receive their comic books, they're going to be chopped up, released as three separate issues, floppies, cat spankers as we call them, and solicited through the mainstream. They will be solicited through Diamond. I want them to go into comic shops. Of course I do. Why leave money on the table? And after that is done, they are going to be released digitally. So they will be released just the way movies are. They're going to be released in the theaters. My biggest fans, people who are most enthusiastic, can buy them at that point, or you can wait and stumble upon it in a comic book store and pay much less for the same story but broken up into 3 parts. Or you can wait and buy it digitally a little bit later on, just the same way people who would just wait for a movie to come out on basic cable. This is my marketing strategy. It is going to make me probably 7 figures per issue, Jason, and you're watching it happen. You're watching it happen live. Now, what was your question for me, Nick? I can't even remember what your initial question for me to think about. I'm just answering Jason.
Yeah, you've started to talk about it, but it was what should Comicsgate fix the comics industry, and then what if you let's put forth a solution to some of these problems in the Comicsgate industry, because that's, I think, we can all smile at the disagreements about the problems, but the ultimate question is, this is a hobby, so how does Comicsgate, whatever its role is, how does Comicsgate address these problems, and what does it do? And I know you've talked about some of that, but if you could just finalize that point.
We need to stand up for the consumer that's being mistreated. We need to stand up for the customer and demand better standards. We need to demand better ethics of the big two. At the end of the day, we don't, like I just said, we don't really care. It's not in our best interest that Marvel and DC succeed. It's in our best interest that we succeed. So them screwing up is kind of helping us. We're trying to build our own side industry. that is, going to be more permissive. It's going to allow people with right-leaning views who cannot function, who cannot work, who cannot exist within the mainstream comic book industry at this point to come over, work, make a lot of money doing what we're doing. Of course, our sympathies don't lie with the big two. Our sympathies lie with the customers and the retailers. Those are the people that we're concerned about. We're not concerned about our fellow professionals and what they think. We're concerned about the way our fellow professionals are treating the customers. They have a very weird attitude on social media about sticking together, about professionals, treating each other with respect as they're abusing the fans. And this is just bullshit. This is something that Comicsgate stands up against. We are in favor of treating the customers with respect and deference, asking them what it is that they're looking for. Let me tell you something. When Cyberfrog comes out, when Bloodhoney comes out, if it's not overwhelmingly beloved by fans and they'd rather I just do Rainbow Brute, or they'd rather I do Fearsome, or they'd rather I do any number of my other ideas that I presented to them, I will do that instead. I'm not going to force upon them a product that isn't working, that is making them unhappy and they're not interested in. This doesn't help them. It doesn't help me. It doesn't help Comicsgate. Marvel seems to have a different idea about that. Marvel canceled Iceman for low sales and brought it back suddenly. Why? Is it selling better now? And then they triple ship it to comic book stores. Comic book stores get those extra copies for free, but they have to pay the shipping costs. So these people, I mean, this is what Marvel is doing to comic book stores right now. These people get triple shipped Iceman. They might sell 2 copies, and the profits that they made off of those 2 copies are being eaten up by the shipping costs of shipping them 3 times as many copies as they ordered.
If you talk to retailers, the cost to them of any additional shipments, they'll tell you it's absolutely negligible. It's not even an issue.
Well, Jason, I have talked to retailers, and that is not true. They tell me quite the opposite. When your profit margin on a single issue of Iceman is something like 90 cents, and you are being shipped, 6 extra copies of Iceman, the weight alone is going to eat up that 90 cents. Go to a post office. It is a negligible. Oh my God. In terms of dimes and nickels and dimes here and there, but all added up, retailers live on a razor thin profit margin, and they're having even more difficulty shifting these books. We have people who send us photographs of comic book shops, the week a comic book ships, a particular issue, and then the next week, and the stack is still thick, THICC, still quite as thick as it was the week before. These comics aren't selling. And they have to sell. They have to sell. Marvel has to produce.
Some comics don't sell. I mean, Jesus, welcome to the industry. But you can have your anecdotal evidence from the retailers you're talking to. I'm talking to retailers and they're saying it's no biggie. It happens sometimes. You get extra shipping. You get extra items. One of these days, the extra items they ship will be red hot, and then I'd almost rather talk about the maneuver that DC Comics made, where people were super stoked to get this new Batman book. I guess Batman's dick is something everyone's really interested in, but they, I guess they panicked and decided to not do a second printing, or they undershipped their first printing. But there is a case where you'd like to have had 6 extra copies, forced on you. But so it balances out in the end, and the shipping costs that you're talking about for additional merchandise shipped to them. First of all, they pay Diamond. Diamond takes its cut. They're not being sent a bill for 6 extra copies of Iceman or whatever. It's bullshit. Sorry, Ethan, but it really is. And you know what? They'll just underpurchase the next round of comics. They'll just say, okay, well, if we're really being annoyed by what Marvel's doing, we'll just buy less of it. So you keep trying to throw out these things where Comicsgate has got a remedy and an answer for all these little micro problems. And I'm not saying that none of them exist, but your number one issue is this hostility, this right-wing hostility. And I think what's really interesting about Comicsgate, as represented by you, is, first of all, half of the books, I would say, that have been influenced by riding your coattails, the IGGs. Roughly half of them are have some sort of political content, but all of them are being sold through politics because of the whole, you've called yourself like the Rush Limbaugh of comics. Well, that's precisely what you are. You say, hey, the feminazis and the faggots and the blue hairs are
whoa.
Hey, don't get my channel struck, please.
I don't use that word. I don't use the F
you know who uses it? It was
Vox Day. Is it Vox Day? I hope it's Vox Day.
No, it was one of your guys was on one of your streams, and he said, "What do you think of so and so?" And he said he's a faggot.
Was that me?
Huh?
Was that me?
He's a member of Comicsgate.
No. Don't. Let's be very. I don't use that word.
No,
I don't use that word. I have gay fans. I have LGBTQ fans.
Yeah.
I don't use that word to denigrate people. I don't use that word. I don't
appreciate
that.
It was Yellow Flash who said it.
Well, that's Yellow Flash's problem. Don't equate that to me. Don't say. And by the way,
I'll give you credit for being a bit perturbed by what he said. But he's as loud a voice in Comicsgate as anyone who isn't selling through.
So what? What does that have to do with me? And why would you just say that I am the Rush Limbaugh of Star Wars, which actually it's Star Wars, not comics. I said I'm the Rush Limbaugh of Star Wars. Why would you say that and then just basically throw that in there casually as though I use that derogation? That's
well, if you thought I was
separate me from my numerous, and I hear from them all the time, my LGBTQ fans who depend on me. Who actually kind of look up to me, who watch my YouTube channel, who buy my comics. Why would you casually just throw out that I use that word?
Well, I don't think I said that you used it. But if you thought I did, I apologize because I wasn't saying you said it. However, the next time you hear Yellow Flash use it, maybe you should slap him down a little harder.
Let me explain something to you. I don't embarrass my guests the way you have just tried to embarrass me on my YouTube show. I talk to them afterwards. We handle things like that internally and in private. I don't tolerate the use of that word on my YouTube channel. I think it separates fans, customers from us. And I think that's an awful thing. And I think that's an awful thing that you just did.
Well, I just said, first of all, I wasn't putting that word in your mouth, but if you thought I was, then I've already apologized. I'll apologize again if you thought I was saying you said it. Nevertheless, I was speaking for what Comicsgate broadly says, and certainly, let's put it this way: you might not have called anyone the F-bomb in that way, but certainly the blue hairs and the SJWs and all the people who are that are spoken of.
Having blue hair is a choice. Having blue hair is a choice. It's a stupid choice. Having blue hair is a stupid choice.
Being gay is not a comic book convention? Are you aware of how people dress at a comic book convention?
Yes.
Are you? What is it with fucking blue hair that you got a blue hair up your ass? I mean, Jesus Christ! Comics books fandom is full of the weirdest weirdos in the world. But every
Jason,
time you open your mouth, you're condemning the weirdos. These weirdos are your fans. Why are you insulting your fans?
I don't think my fans are blue-haired weirdos. Jason, I wouldn't take the word blue hair literally. I would just I think people who hear me say blue hair, it conjures up an image of an angry social justice warrior weirdo who is calling them a Nazi. They all understand what I mean. Some of them even have green hair. I wouldn't worry about the hair color in particular and think that I'm saying only people who have blue hair are the problem. Indeed, some people who behave this way don't dye their hair at all. But it does conjure up an image that people can relate to.
Of a woman, of a lesbian, probably, of someone who doesn't want to be insulted, doesn't want to be, be called a cum dumpster, as a certain person high up in the industry was called. Is that the image of? Are those the people represented by the
One thing I've got to interject here because I will say that on behalf of me, actual blue hair is degenerate. Actual blue hair is degenerate and needs to go.
This word degenerate that you use. Where is it coming from? Is it in the Bible or something?
It's in the dictionary.
Here's what it is.
Degenerate is a word people use for homosexuals, transgenders.
Why?
What do you think degenerate means to a person when they hear it? It's the word of the Christian right. Mm-hmm. You're so embarrassing the way you think you can sort of thread this needle and call people weirdos, freaks, degenerates, SJWs, and that no one understands that what you mean are women, homosexuals, transgenders, minorities who would like to see themselves portrayed a little more often.
Entirely about people's behavior. It's entirely about what they say and do.
But so this is an interesting divide, and I'm gonna do this neutrally. I was tempted not to, but then I overcame the liquor, and I'm going to do this neutrally. I think this is an interesting difference between the left and the right, because the right has adopted the word degenerate, and sure, maybe it's from, I don't think it's from the Bible. If it is, it's probably from Romans, I guess. But either way, they've taken this label degenerate to describe a set of things, and it's varied, right? We know that we have everything from Ethan Van Sciver to Vox Day considered to be on the right. But what my curiosity is, and Jason, maybe you can help me out with this, is why does the left decide that degenerate must mean this list of things? I mean, I found your list very enlightening, that when you hear degenerate, you're hearing from the person saying the word degenerate, women, minorities, gays. I don't know if you said minorities. I apologize if you didn't, but LGBTQ, stuff like that. Why there seems to be a disconnect, because if I'm saying the word degenerate about blue hair, well, right now I'm obviously just making jokes and trying to keep things light. But when I say the word degenerate, it may specifically mean a specific behavior. For example, last night I was talking to a furry, and in the furry community, there's a thing with zoophilia and bestiality. I think that is absolutely degenerate, but it has nothing to do with their status as LGBTQ or the fact that these people are in the furry community or anything like that. I'm referring to a specific behavior. So can you help me out in why the left and not that you speak for the left, but you're here, why the left defines degeneracy in these terms and applies it to the right when people on the right will largely reject that classification? And then why don't you believe the rejection? If you could speak to that for my benefit, I'd really appreciate it.
Absolutely. I'd like, this answer shouldn't take that long, but to deliver my answer, I would like to read just a few passages from SJW's Always Double Down.
You can only read a few passages from SJW's Always Double Down if you cite it like a Bible verse. Because it is my Bible now for the stream.
So from Vox Day's absolute garbage piece of shit, burn it if you ever get it in your hands, hunk of crap, SJW's Double Down, one of Ethan Van Sciver's favorite books. Let me read now the answer, almost the word for word answer to your question. This is from the introduction from one of Vox Day's scumbag authors. The spoiled, let me give you the whole paragraph. There is no question that this is a tumultuous time of enormous cultural conflict and war, internecine and ugly, with no quarter asked and no mercy granted. The spoilt rejection of history and culture by the left, capital L, was directly, by design, methodically and cruelly destroyed, or has destroyed, intellectual integrity, political honor, sacred institutions such as marriage and the church, and turned the emerging pillars and foundations of the digital age towards hideous outcomes of degeneracy. Now, there's half your answer. I'm just going to do one more quote as soon as my mouse is reconnected, because if you hit my table, it causes my mouse to disconnect. Here we go. Let me just get to the other half of the answer. I just need to do a word search for the word lesbotron. There it is.
The word what?
The word, well, Ethan knows. It's in SJW's Always Lie. So
I have it memorized.
Let me give you the one
is
more.
It,
one
did
more
you
bit.
say?
This will help round out the whole.
No, but did you say?
Thing.
Did you say lesbotron?
Lesbotron. Yes.
I think personally we should move to elbows, as the preferred derogatory slang for lesbian.
Right. Okay. Well, here's some. So just because the question you're asking is about why do leftists fasten themselves upon these words, and why can't we get over whatever you think they're supposed to mean? So let me just round out that first passage with another passage from SJW's Always Lie. So this is Vox Day imagining a scenario where a humble office worker has been forced to go to human resources ordained reconditioning. Right. So here it is. Here is Vox Day speaking for that person, that office worker. So he's just been sentenced to reconditioning. So with no little bitterness in your own heart, you heed the boss's jaded advice and agree to do your time in diversity indoctrination camp. This is what Ethan has suggested is the plight of people like him who, have high-paying jobs at DC Comics and then choose to quit. In diversity indoctrination camp, it's not so bad, really. It's essentially a day off, except instead of getting work done around the house, you're spending it being lectured by, and here we go, an angry Asian woman in power lesbian attire. A very fat white woman with blue hair, okay,
Ooh.
Here's your blue hairs,
Yeah.
who breaks down in tears every time she talks. I guess she's related to Brett Kavanaugh. And then finally, an effeminate, overweight black man in a dress whose posterior rivals that of a force-fed hippopotamus. Ethan, Vox, if you're listening, God damn it, I can't wait to read Throne of Bones. You're really painting a picture here. I'm sure your work is as good as anything that George R.R. Martin is doing. Finally, he says, it rather reminds you of a college. Actually, only the catered food is better and there isn't any beer. But then to quickly finish up, here we get the response. This is going to be the character who speaks with Vox's voice. He's going to come in and save our a weak soy cuck 1984 victim, Winston Smith. Here he's going to say, this guy's going to sweep in and save Winston Smith. He says, here comes the Vox Day character. He says of they're serving lunch at the indoctrination. So it's a good thing they finally brought the sandwiches, he says, after sitting down next to you during the lunch break. The blue whale was getting hungry, and I think she was looking at you. Am I right? He's given them all nicknames: the Blue Whale, Caitlyn Kardashian, and the Lesbotron, made in China. He's kind of a riot, says Vox Day about himself, but you can't imagine his employment status surviving much longer.
Okay.
So this is just to show you everything that Comicsgate is upset about is fucking torn word for word from the writings of Vox 14 Words of Adolf Hitler Day.
Okay. Hold on.
Pretending that your movement isn't saturated with white nationalism. This is the entryway into that line of thinking.
I've got 2 points, and then I'm going to let Ethan respond. One, I forgot the first one. Second, I've watched every season of Game of Thrones, and every major character in that show is white. And almost every minor character in that show is white. So if you're looking for a comparison of like who is inclusive and diversity, I'm not sure that George R.R. Martin is the pinnacle of that. But I would like to have Ethan respond, I guess, to the Vox Day biblical reference, if you could. I'm not sure.
Wow, he KO'd Vox Day. Thanks. I don't know what to say.
Oh, I remembered my first point. My first point was that was more Vox Day than I've ever read in my entire life.
Vox Day doesn't like SJWs, and Vox Day makes fun of SJWs. And he makes fun of SJWs in a funny way. Yeah, he used the word lesbotron as though
made in China.
Okay. Well, what do you want
I
from
prefer
me?
elbow still.
Fat transgenders, fat black transgenders, they're the enemy. Blue-haired feminist weepers, they're the enemy. Chinese people, they're the enemy. I mean, you try to present yourself as if I'm sure you yourself are not naturally predisposed to being a gigantic asshole towards every minority, but this book and then the attitudes that you're representing are just arch chauvinism.
Okay, wait. Hold on. Let me moderate for a second because this is frustrating. And Ethan, I'm going to let you respond, but have you been derogatory towards minorities? Because I've seen Vox do it. Vox famously made an argument for Anders Breivik, the shooter in the Netherlands, or not Netherlands, Norway, who shot up a Muslim camp. But again,
No,
this
no, no,
isn't.
no, no. That's not true. First of all, he's not a shooter. He's a terrorist. And second of all, what he shot up was not some Muslim camp. It was a youth camp for what's the equivalent of the Norwegian Democratic Party. Okay.
Okay.
That's what he shot up.
Sure.
That's what he shot up.
And
he murdered young men and women, and he did it indiscriminately. And that's who Vox Day has defended. And that's who wrote this motherfucking book.
Okay.
That you think has got some really brilliant ideas.
But
it's a white nationalist terrorist.
Okay, and yes, Anders Breivik is
terrible.
Terrible human being, and I believe they were majority Muslim. The victims, there were 77.
Absolutely not. How do you get this so wrong? He shot up. I'm sorry, but I have to correct this. It would be just as bad if they were Muslims. But this guy is not a person who shot up a mosque. As a matter of fact, members of the alt-right were actually a fellow named Mencius Moldbug is his name. Why do all these fucking alt-righters have these super villain names? Mencius Moldbug, he sounds like he's an instructor at Hogwarts. But he's the leader of one of the fascist factions of the alt-right, the neo-reactionary movement, to which I think Scott Adams probably belongs, in case you want to know where, how that's being represented in pop culture. And this guy says, Moldbug, who's a fan of Vox Day, I believe, but either way, they represent the same point of view. He says, he's glad that Anders Breivik didn't shoot up Muslims. He's glad that he killed the enablers of Muslims, which are these, white Norwegian Democrats, basically. So, that's on Moldbug. Curtis Yarvin is his real name. That's not on Vox Day, but Vox Day is also an admirer of Anders Breivik. So, and of course, when I'm listening to Nick, it's like, well, I think he shot up a bunch of Muslims. No, it was even better. He shot up.
I love that. I'm just letting him go. Like, this is me, like
white people. He shot up the traitors to their race who enabled Muslims to emigrate to Norway. And
Vox
this is
on the ropes right now.
Vox Day admires.
I'm watching.
Vox Day is who Ethan Van Sciver admires.
This is a fight between me and Jason has gone into the crowd and he's beat up one of my biggest enemies. He's swinging at. He's gone out of the ring. Mm-hmm. He's punching Vox Day in the face, and I'm hanging out on the ropes. I'm like, get him, go.
Well, tell you what. Would you mind calling up Vox Day tonight and telling him how soundly he's been defeated? Because I know you got his number.
I would, but I don't have his phone number. His number. Ethan, do you?
Ethan, can I ask a question? That's just been bugging me. How exactly did Vox Day get your number? Did you give it to him?
No.
What do you do? Do you like send private detectives to find it? How do you find you?
It's not hard to get my phone number. If you want to find my phone number, talk to one of my friends. They'll give it to you. If you are a big author, and we have a friend in common, sure, you can get my phone number pretty easily. I'll give you my phone number now, or one of my friends will. And you can call my house and we can have a conversation, because I'll talk to you. I don't agree with anything that I agree with all your Vox Day stuff. I think it's pretty funny. But in general, your attitude about Comicsgate and the nonsense that you're spouting, I don't agree with it, but I'll still talk to you. That's who I am. I talk to people.
I don't think you're doing your argument any favor by saying you're so open-minded that you can't wait to have long chats with an obvious neo-Nazi.
But that's not what he said.
Make one thing clear to you. First of all, I didn't know Vox Day was an obvious neo-Nazi when I first started talking to him last year. I was critical of his idea of doing controversial comic books. I didn't know who he was. He was doing a book called He was doing a comic book called Alt Hero, and it had the flag on it, which the Confederate flag, which I found to be troublesome, because at the time I was not adhering to Comicsgate, but I had some sympathies to it. And I was mostly against politics in comics. I think that was my earliest stance when I had a YouTube channel. And so I disagreed with what he was doing. And I said, if you represent the right wing, antagonizing the left wing isn't going to be by doing exactly what they're doing, but just from a right-wing perspective, isn't the way to save comics. It isn't the way to sell comics, in my opinion. And I disagree with it. And he asked me, he got in touch with me via email. He asked me to review one of his comics. I did review his comic. He was not happy about my review of his comic book. All of this stuff is chronicled. You were welcome to watch it.
I've seen it.
Channel. Oh, good. Then I'm surprised that you have these questions, Jason.
Well, they're not
questions. If you have seen them, then you've seen me be cordial to a man who I thoroughly disagree with, as I am cordial to you. I find you to be an SJW. I find your views to be repugnant, if silly, not repugnant, but silly. And yet I'm sitting here being quite cordial with you, like I am with Vox Day, or like I am with absolutely anybody. And at the end of the day, if somebody says, "What did you think of Jason Yungbluth?" I'll say he's silly, he's ridiculous, goofball, SJW, clown. Don't agree with him. That'll be my assessment of you. But you wouldn't know that. But I'm able to talk to you, Jason. And I'm able to talk to you and discuss things with you and talk about where we disagree. I'm not out to isolate you. I'm not out to condemn you. I'm not out to throw you on another island somewhere to get you fired from your job. I'm not out to harass you, threaten your life, have my friends dox you, have people send you messages that say they're going to rape you and your wife. None of that. That's not what I do. That's what you guys do to us. And that's
no, hold on a second. Now, not that I would ever for one second.
And Comicsgate. And you support those people and you talk to those people. You're friends with people who spread rumors about me that are ridiculous, that use far left-wing strategies and tactics to defame people, who use the media to write defamatory false articles for the purpose of what? For the purpose of silencing the message of Comicsgate, making it more difficult for right-wingers and just moderates to find work in comics. That's what you represent. When I look at you, I see you as somebody who represents people like Chuck Dixon having no alternative but going to work for Vox Day. I see you as that person.
Chuck Dixon.
You are the person who has made it
opportunities to work for anyone.
But hold on. One at a time, please.
In particular, but people like you and your friends have made it so that Vox Day is the last alternative for somebody who created Bane for Batman.
Why aren't you working for him? Why aren't you working for him if he's the only alternative?
Because I'm building this, Jason. I'm a very smart motherfucker who has a great idea in comics with Cyberfrog. I'm able to build a platform on YouTube. I planned this in advance. I built up a fan base, an enormous fan base. I'm marketing, very bright with marketing, and was able to build up the thing that you are perplexed by right now.
Not perplexed.
No, you are perplexed by it.
Chuck Dixon has run his own independent Indiegogo campaigns free of Vox Day. He does not need Vox Day to make money. And I think what you're perplexed by is why Chuck Dixon is still in bed with Vox Day, even though Vox Day is manifestly a fascist.
Why on earth are we talking about Vox Day? Why are we talking about Vox Day still? We're 2 hours in. Guys,
I'm just the other side of Vox Day. I mean, in essence, these two guys, it's great to watch him shadowbox Vox Day on a debate that he's having with me, ostensibly.
Nick, I want to address something that Ethan said a second ago.
Does it involve Vox Day? Because if it does...
No. There's plenty wrong in Comicsgate that doesn't involve Vox Day.
This live stream... Hold on 1 second.
There's nothing wrong with Comicsgate.
This live stream has more views than the average Vox Day video already.
You're getting Comicsgate live numbers right now. You've got 1,236 people watching right now. This is Comicsgate live right now. I mean, this is pretty impressive.
Well, as long as we're pimping Comicsgate, I'd like to pimp my book for 1 second. Weapon Brown. It's Charlie Brown After the Apocalypse. You can purchase it at weaponbrown.com. It's 416 pages of outrageous action, and as an added bonus, it's available now, not 6 months from now when these guys get done with their shipping, and it's better than anything that anyone in Comicsgate is doing, and that is a motherfucking guarantee.
And I will say, as neutral moderator, definitely there's already a link in the description to Jason's webpage, not Weapon Brown. I'll get that on there. It's your other website is linked because I couldn't remember the Weapon Brown when I set it up, but I will amend that and definitely check it out because whatever the end of the day is, I'm pro-capitalist and good products should be supported and bought. Well,
And
I mean,
let me just
let's
hold
not
it,
stretch me here, Ethan. I'm just kidding.
Well,
But I'm pro creators doing things outside and frankly, like outside of the comics industry, because I think Marvel and DC are frankly just you want someone raping minorities and LGBTQ people, you've got Marvel and DC in the wages that they're paying people and the work that they're offering to people. When I think Comicsgate and guys like you, Jason, and guys like Patton Oswalt, even though I think he's a pile of garbage, they're out there showing people that you don't need these major distributors and these major labels to sell good comics to people. And frankly, if LGBTQ and minority writers want to actually make money, maybe they should take notes from, and you don't have to take it from Comicsgate, take it from Patton Oswalt, take it from guys like you. That's my whole confusion with all this. I'm a guy who looks
come
at
to
numbers.
Comicsgate and make some money.
Yeah.
Wait,
So-
Ethan, are you saying that Comicsgate will allow LGBTQ people? Do they have to recite the 14 words first? I need to know that.
No, in fact, that is prohibitive. I mean, we don't like that. But yeah, as long as you believe the customers deserve respect, as long as you acknowledge that there's a problem within the mainstream comic book industry, and as long as you're willing to work hard to promote your book on YouTube or on Twitter, all of these things, and as long as you're willing to keep your book apolitical, you are welcome to come to Comicsgate. We
Except for
encourage.
Tim Lim. Tim Lim can be as political as he wants.
Tim Lim. Well, no. You see, this is the thing. Like, you don't have a good historical grasp of what's going on with Comicsgate, and I don't blame you because it's all insider stuff. But yeah, we had a problem. We had an argument in July over Tim Lim's Trump Space Force book. It was a big argument. It caused another rift. People who are mostly Comicsgate, but kind of disagree with one aspect of it, that assume Comicsgate is entirely about right-wing politics when it's not. We do have disagreements from time to time. Tim Lim and I had an argument about Trump Space Force. I still disagree with doing Trump comic books for several reasons. I don't want I wouldn't do them because I don't want people who hate Trump to not buy my comics. I want everyone to buy Cyberfrog. And the other thing is, I don't think they're going to last very long. The idea of Comicsgate is also to produce comics. They're going to stand the test of time. I mean, Cyberfrog Blood Honey is going to be like Harry Potter Chamber of Secrets. It's the first installment of an ongoing series that is always going to be relevant. Even after Trump is no longer president in 2025, it's still going to be relevant. Trump Space Force is going to be just as embarrassing in 2025 as Obama's Spider-Man cover currently is in this day and age.
And yet, by dint of those comics existing, and also by dint of someone like Chuck Dixon straddling the line between what you consider your slice of Comicsgate and the Vox Day slice of Comicsgate, putting out a book that is at least partially political. That's because it's based on the QAnon conspiracy. And of course, Vox Day's books themselves are entirely political. You've already shown that Comicsgate.
That's why he's not Comicsgate. And you just ran yourself right into a wall with that, didn't you?
Whether it's Vox Day or whether it's Chuck Dixon or whether it's Tim Lim, you've already shown
just
that
accidentally admitted that Vox Day is not Comicsgate.
From right-wing politics
admitted Vox Day
in the comics.
Yeah. Right. No, I appreciate that. So you just ran right into a wall. You just admitted that Vox Day is not Comicsgate because he does not meet our standards. That does not mean that Chuck Dixon isn't salvageable and Chuck Dixon couldn't come over here and do comics for us that are not political. And in fact, we're talking to him about doing that right now and being a part of Comicsgate. Currently, as Chuck Dixon is working on Vox Day projects, I don't consider him to be Comicsgate. That is my personal opinion. But
what about Tim Lim? Does he also not meet your standards? Is he there?
I just explained that to you. I just told you that. And as Tim Lim is doing Trump Space Force, Tim Lim is an invaluable and brilliant creator. He's not just doing Trump Space Force. He's also working on a book called Cash Grab, which is going to be the first, hilarious Comicsgate project. It's going to be about members of our community. It's going to be very funny. He's going to draw it. He's a fantastic artist. He belongs in Comicsgate. I do not agree.
So there you go. You're saying some people who are doing political works do belong in Comicsgate. Some are on the hedge, and some who you would prefer not being Comicsgate are still being identified as Comicsgate. I'm just saying that.
No. There's a big difference between someone's basic core principles and someone who's just doing a project that I don't necessarily agree with. And at the end of the day, this is really all about the fans. The fans decide who is Comicsgate. The customers do. My opinion, my feeling about what Comicsgate means, what I talk about on my YouTube channel, are the principles that I already discussed with you. But at the end of the day, the fans are going to make a personal decision about what Comicsgate is, because Comicsgate is a personal decision for all of them. So, yeah, I mean, Tim Lim, is Comicsgate, even though he is producing a comic book that is one comic book that is political. I don't think that in Tim Lim's heart, he's thinking everything he has to do is political. On the other hand, Vox Day is quite different. He's thinking his entire purpose for doing comics is political, and the content of the comics is political. Therefore, I just don't think it's Comicsgate.
Hey, gentlemen, I've got like a trillion chats to go through. So I'm gonna hit a whole.
Before we do that, can I just say one quick thing?
Oh, I guess.
Okay, just quickly. I know, Ethan, you think that Tim Lim isn't, political to the core. Everything he's done since Trump was elected, every project is a pro-Trump blowjob down the line.
Yeah,
every single one.
I agree. Yeah.
The guy is in love with
cash grab. Except for cash grab.
Okay, cash grab will be about SJWs, which makes it political. But go ahead.
All right, now I'm going to teach an economics lesson on capitalism right now. Jance says, take my money, please. Milk my man tit says, soy. The Nerd Wonder says, I hope you're all doing well. Hugs. Ash Can coming soon. Gojirify says, Mike Miller, table 45 wants more bread. Cecil says, EVS, get to New York City Sunday. I'll be there. Anakin Skywalker says, SJWs are social terrorists. Jason, just stop. Seriously, what's your beef? Just stop, man. No one is racist. Just stop, man. Oh my God. Bad Respawn says, truly the only hope for Comicsgate is to gain the respect of the mainstream. Is patreon.com/Asterios. Risey Toxic Fan Lee says, why is Mark Waid's boyfriend debating EVS? Slammerai Jam Down. Vox Day was willing to put down infrastructure for Soy Tongue Van Sciver. Soy Tongue always lies and spews soy. Okay.
That's a Vox Day fan.
Sure.
They don't like me very much.
That is a struggling burn.
JR says
it's from a fan of a what you call a Nazi. So I don't mind that.
Yeah, I bet he's read SJW's always double down though.
JR says, Jason, you're a disgrace. I had family who died in the Holocaust, but I am Comicsgate. Your collectivist mentality is what's wrong with our culture. Rock Ep Ship says, anything that Jason doesn't like, Comicsgate confirmed. Baron Nathan Dean says, if you disagree with one thing a person believes, then everything they believe is evil, and you can't ever speak to them. What a productive world. Leo the Bum Tickler says, hey, don't kink shame me just because I dress in tight leather uniforms and goose step on my boyfriend's tight bum doesn't mean I'm a mean person. Rhino
Someone paid money to have you say that?
You'd be surprised what people pay money for. Rhino4563 says, soy Jason, I haven't bought Marvel in 20 years, you clown. JR says, Jason, can you be any more disingenuous?
Yes.
You're exploiting real-life tragedies and oppression for your own personal self-interest. It's disgusting. Jack Straw said, we tried showing what we want with hashtag move the needle, still called a hate movement. Douglas Luden says, Comicsgate is white, black, Asian, women, men. It's everyone, gay, straight, right, left, center, from a lefty Canadian. Anakin Skywalker says, we should boycott. If we loved comics, we must. Shuru says, Jason's entire point is that we can't do anything. If that's true, then why do you care? Sharky says, I'm not suggesting you do it. That's quoting you. Guy who suggested it a second ago and was easily rebutted. Midnight Cherry TV says, this was a bad idea. They turned on Jason on Twitter, which is unfortunate. No one should turn on you for... No one should turn on you for associating with people that they don't agree with. Anakin Skywalker says, boycott. It's the only way to get a message across loud enough without violence. Rhino4563 says, throw Nasser at just soy. Fan Advocacy Network says, Ethan, I can't wait for Rainbow Brute. Gujirify, Comicsgate would be in retailers if not for Waid. That's an interesting point, and I would like to close on that question. with the Mark Waid lawsuit, isn't that a problem with the whole, shouldn't we be supporting LCSs? And you guys can think about that, because that's going to be my last question as soon as I'm done with these. Anakin Skywalker says, wow, Ethan, seriously, we're not here to fix it. Then what's the point? Douglas Luden says, from a Canadian lefty, Jason is the problem I have. Jason is the problem I have with the nutty left if they do not listen. Anakin Skywalker says, you think if Jason smoked some weed, he'd chill? Shannon McDaniel says, Yungbluth, you're a moron. CG is growing every day. James S.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite so far. That one gets, give them their money back. Give them their money back. They deserve money from you.
No way. That's my money. James S says,
great.
James S says, I'm sick of being called a bigot when I'm not. So F you, Jason, and people like you who refuse to listen to normal people. Long live Comicsgate.
The hell are you doing to that cat?
That cat is doing it to me, and he's doing it to me every fucking day, 5 times a day.
Okay, I'm gonna mute.
Stop in a second.
I'm gonna mute your mic for just a minute while I get through these.
That's a good idea. I'm sorry.
Okay. Jason drew my favorite commissioned art I have ever gotten. I am sad he is so close-minded. That's from Steven. Wait. Anakin Skywalker says, I thought Ethan said Comicsgate isn't here to fix things. So what are you here for then? Also, why don't they stop carrying Marvel and carry your guys' work? Your story is full of holes, Ethan. Which is it? Jesse N says, someone needs to tell Jason denial is not a river in Egypt. Anakin Skywalker says, Jason is a commie. He's against being an individual. He'd probably call Kanye Uncle, you're not a real Star Wars fan, Ethan. Just stop, man. Lamonk says, you are a hypocrite, Jason, and a dumb one. JR says, here, I'm going to see if you're, I think the cat's done now, so I've unmuted. Or wait, I'm trying to unmute you, Jason, 1 second. Or are you muted? You've now self-muted, so you can unmute whenever. Okay.
Can you hear me now? The cat's done.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Jason, who can we associate you with to set up straw men to attack you for? Do you even have any friends? James S. says, Jason reveals himself by focusing on a word none of us uses. Anakin Skywalker says, Ethan just jumped on the Star Wars bandwagon because he knows there's money in it. JR says, weirdos, have you looked in the mirror? Leo the Bum Tickler says, you seem very perturbed by this. May I suggest a good bum tickle? It'll work all that bad energy down to your back door, and maybe you won't be such a wiener. This man from AUNT says, this dude is stressed. Calm down, dude. Lol. Space Shank says, Jason, get ducked. Anakin Skywalker says, Ethan, Jason, you're both morons. Whomsteadive says, Jason, why are you a homophobe? Baron Nathan Dean says, that word rolled off the tongue pretty easily. I'm not sure what that word. That was the FAGGOT word. Vince Rush Art says, Jason, what is it with the blue hair? Me, what is it with your lack of clear and concise points? Anakin Skywalker again says, oh goody, one is triggered by blue hair and the other is a racist bigot. Fun. Leo the Bum Tickler says, women and degenerates are icky, not worthy of defending. Gas the degenerates. Bagel Goose says, Yellow Flash didn't do nothing. Prodigy says, Jason, you killed your entire argument the moment you painted us all under the same brush. You're every bit the bigot you claim to stand against. Your credibility is shot. JR says, D Generation X, bow to the masters, break it down. Midnight in Exile says, Canales has my cheese and owes me beer. Anakin Skywalker, no one wins this one. You're both idiots. Lord Asurman says, Blue Mamba is a lesbian comic book, you straw manning POS. Otaku Sakura 15 says, takes out my cross, begone thought. James S says, every accusation is a confession. Darkman McEdgeface says, why does Jason hate gay people? Great Loner says, Vox Day lives in Jason's head rent-free. Anakin Skywalker, every male feminist has sexually assaulted someone. How many women have you assaulted, Jason? Douglas Luden says, from a Canadian
10.
lefty, how many? 10?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'll admit to.
From a Canadian lefty, sorry, Ethan, Jason is an idiot of the left. He is one stupid man. Clinging Mars says, blue hair equals pink hair equals Admiral Gender Studies. And just to say, regardless of the blue hair or pink hair status of Admiral Gender Studies, that was a garbage character with a terrible plan in a bad movie. Anakin Skywalker says, Jason soy Latino cabron. He says, soy Latino cabron. Sorry, he wasn't calling you soy. He was saying soy as in I am. Sorry, my brain didn't translate. Cecil says, Jay, I'm pro-LGBT and pro-Comicsgate. What's my problem? Emery Kalam says, what a poopy case this blithering oaf clown Yungbluth made. Michael Strelet says, Jason, you're not listening to anything. Getting a point to you is impossible. Today, comics are full of political agendas, which normal people do not want. Circles you are doing. Most comics are crap. Gojirify says, Jason, audible.com is calling to interview you for dramatic audiobook works. FB Nick. That's rude, man. You're trying. That's an assault at this point. The man from AUNT, Jason's obsession with Vox Day is hilarious. Anakin Skywalker, he killed.
How many more of these are there? Because could I take a whiz behind this?
You can take a whiz. We're on the capitalism train.
I'll be AFK just 1 minute.
Okay, Anakin Skywalker, he killed indiscriminately like the commies did with those 110 million people. Casca 52, Jason is the only one that reads all of Vox's stuff. He is a Vox follower. Most of us didn't hear of him until the trademark fiasco. Effing loser. Jabba the Cuck says a broken clock is right twice a day. Jack Straw, Vox is not. Comicsgate, no more Vox talk. Insect Facet, I disagree with all of EVS's politics except for free speech, and I still support Cyberfrog and can't wait for Rainbow Brute. Quick, denounce me. Mark C says, okay, one more time, Vox Day is not Comicsgate. We go to Comicsgate for comics. Ethan Van Sciver is not my god. I don't follow Vox Day. I just like good comics. Well, Ethan Van Sciver is about to be your god, I think, after this. Space Reptile says, see Kyle, mine further. That's a weird chat. Unka Bill says, Jason is an hysterical woman. Todd Rector says, pie. Urban Decay says, the bald guy with glasses is the Nazi, right? Because he sounds like a Nazi. Leo the Bum Tickler again says, what about your pedo comics, Jason? Travis Muir says, to JY Racket, an unorganized criminal act. Can we stop about Vox Day and name calling? You say Comicsgate is a racket. Please address the issue. Both sides have done wrong. It doesn't delegitimize either side. Casca 52 says, Vox is all Jason has. He's a Vox shrine. Anakin Skywalker says, own up to it, Jason. You guys do that stuff. Don't defend it. Call it out. Why can't you do something that simple? Are you afraid of losing your status? What's more worth it, harassment or losing your friends? Loyal Opposition says, I was an early backer of Weapon Brown. I'll be tearing it lengthwise like your boy Zach. Never go full SJW.
Impossible. It's thicker than a phone book. They'll never tear it.
Well, you'll have to find a strong man to do it, probably. Gojirify says, Vox, says in a Jan Brady voice. Jason Pirtle says, Jason Dungbreath's only goal with this is his own publicity and trying to link Vox with Comicsgate.
That's not nice.
That's a good one. I'm pleased with that one.
You never heard that?
No. I had there were very lame insults thrown against my name in high school. I would have loved to have heard Dumb Breath.
It is pretty good. It just seems like it
Yeah,
follows.
I like that one. I'm putting that on my business cards.
Todd Rector says, yeah, no thanks, Jason. Ragmuffin says he runs Comicsgate up the wall, then shills, which shilling is okay on this channel. I want to point that out. I'm happy to let people come on here, say their piece and promote their product. Like I said, I'm pro-capitalist all the way, and people are allowed to promote their product alongside their message all they want on my channel. Buju 2007 says, as a black man, I find Jason's train of thought disturbing. #walk away. Anakin Skywalker, I'm glad Patton Oswalt's wife is dead. Come at me. That seems rude. Rhino 456.
Nice.
Rhino 4563 says, poop is brown by Jason J Soy. Anakin Skywalker says, moderated capitalism is awesome. Vince Garrett says, slam dunk, Ethan. One more SJW. Can't tell you why Comicsgate is a bad thing. Too bad Vox Day couldn't show up to receive his butt kicking. Titus Andromedon says, we are better than him. Check out his book. Might be good. I'm going to. Regardless, it takes courage to debate in hostile environment, and I fully agree, and I'm very happy with both of my guests for coming on. Now, wait a minute, Jason. No. Jason, no. Dude, what? No. Now, Jason, come on, dude. Take a hit. Case closed. Fandom menace. Darkman McEdgeface says, don't put your hand in the Vox box. It's a gom jabber. Man from AUNT. Jason is...
Gom Jabbar, you cretin.
Gom Jabbar, okay. Jason is crushing hard on Vox. Love is in the air. Kyung Lee says, Battle Maiden Knuckle Bomb coming to Indiegogo Monday. Better than Weapon Brown. Barry Blatunic says, I put some garlic in my pasta. Lex is back. Bean from PA. Jason can't handle anything pro-Trump. Liam says, Jason, you claim your work is better than anything in Comicsgate, but you've never read any of my work. Arrogant and ignorant. You're a sad person. Cars in Depth. Jason, SJWs are Jew haters. SJW Jews are capos. Ben Jones says, guess I'm the black CG white nationalist again. I'm still waiting on my robe and swastika. Oh, buddy, when you're on this channel, they get mailed out along with a swastika cake for you to enjoy because cake is delicious and pie is degenerate. The left wants to chain me down like the slave they want to be. Psychotic Cognition 100. Jason is Crazy Cat Lady. Clay Early. Clay, you're full mod now, and my favorite one. I'm Nick Rekieta, and this is how I talk. Also, yes, I did base my new hairs off of yours. Thanks, buddy. I'm Nick Rekieta, and I approve this message. Jack Straw says, Gail Simone owes Umbrella Guy $1. Mundane Uden says, Ethan, oh, dang it. There's so many of these. It's great. We might have to take a break and let you guys go, and then I'll finish them.
You're doing good. This is great. By the way, congratulations to 1,224 people watching now. If you haven't subscribed to Rekieta Law, make sure that you hit the subscribe button, click that bell for notifications, and click the thumbs up, please. I mean, this is a great channel. Nick is a busy lawyer, but provides good content, and you should follow. You should follow.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I actually found out we're almost done.
I'm curious, how much? So these are all super chats you're reading, right?
Yes.
So how much money do you think you've raised just in this last batch that you've been reading?
God, I have no idea. I am like 4 drinks past math.
He'll make about $300 for this. He'll make about $300 for this.
Yeah.
300. Okay, so I just want to say, you keep reading these, but for all you people who have spent this money to insult me, I was taking a piss for half the chats, so, money well spent, morons.
Ethan POS his neg hole HOLE neg
I saw that and I didn't get it. Piece of shit and then neg hole. That guy doesn't like me, but he's got an anti-Semitic name. So
well, his name is Mundane Uden. I think it might be Mundane Matt. I heard that guy's an anti-Semite. Todd Rector says Jason wants to go pee because he drank too much soy. Tomb says, back Asgard by Ben Jones, only on Indiegogo now, do it now. Stephen Cruz says, Jason had a one-night stand with Vox Day. Vox didn't call him back like he said he would. Now Jason is very angry. Diablo EZ says, eating pie, Skyver wins. Michael Straylet says, Jason needs help, see a doctor. Trevor Wright says, Jason is silly. He's like our Elmer Fudd. Terry Bogard says, why is Lord Van Sciver arguing with Down syndrome Homer Simpson? Vox can go to hell, and Ethan is the man to save comics. Sierra Whiskey says, Nick, nice job being a fair moderator. Emery Kalame says, we don't care, Yungbluth. You don't matter much. Michael Straylet says, what a wanker Jason is. And then I do have one final question. And because my channel is a law channel and I want to tangentially relate this to law, is assuming, okay, so let's ignore the legality though, and let's look at the situation. I'm going to ask Jason first to respond to the accusations against Mark Waid for tortiously interfering with Diversity in Comics' contract with Anarctic Press, because one of your accusations earlier was that Comicsgate isn't going to retail stores. Anarctic Press had a distribution deal with a publisher who could get him into Diamond, and then Mark Waid makes a phone call, and suddenly that deal ends, despite them making 2 specific tweets prior to that phone call supporting diversity in comics and saying, we're doing the right thing. These local comic shops who don't want to buy your book mean we're doing the right thing. Then Mark Waid calls, then the contract is over. What do you have to say to that accusation against Mark Waid, and therefore Mark Waid being the voice of Marvel? For if Vox Day is the voice of Comicsgate, then Mark Waid is certainly the voice of the mainstream comics industry. And go.
Sure. Well, I am in no way going to speak for Mark Waid, nor do I have any legal opinion on what he may or may not have done in regards to that contract. I would say if you're a supporter of Richard C. Myers, though, and if you thought his book would be in stores faster if it was put out by Antarctic, you might have a little bit of a wait ahead of you. Richard C. Meyer just recently mentioned that he's got to sign like almost 11,000 books. He has to put a personal signature on 11,000 copies of Jawbreakers. And if you don't think that is going to delay the release of Jawbreakers, then you got another thing coming.
Wait a minute. I've got to lightly push back on that, because
Sure.
if he had a contract with Antarctic Press, correct me if I'm wrong, because I have no knowledge of the publishing industry, but he would merely mail some sort of vectored image document to Antarctic Press, who would then they would take care of the printing and distribution of Jawbreakers to the stores. So him signing Iron Sights and Jawbreakers because he sold just a crap load of them wouldn't have anything to do, any impact on his ability to get into stores. In fact, assuming Antarctic Press held up their presumed end of the bargain, he would be in stores much sooner than literally never, which is where he's at now. Is that correct? I mean,
that's correct. The way, let me answer that real quick. This is just a point of fact that neither of you understand, I don't think, but let me make it clear. There's a big difference between the special signed edition that's going to go to Indiegogo backers and then the edition that Antarctic Press would be distributing to stores. I mean, the whole point of this is that our backers get a special autographed, unique edition of a comic, and then Antarctic Press would be publishing and distributing a version that, Richard never touched. He would never sign them. They would just go straight into the stores. So there would be no holdup because of the autographs at all. People, if anything, the people who bought the limited edition would suffer a slight delay because of course, factors involved with actually signing 11,000 copies of a comic.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, go on, Jason.
Falls a little.
Oh, go. I was saying go on, Jason. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I got no horse in the fight that Mark Waid has with Richard Meyer. I would say I'll just say this, because we did have a conversation on Twitter about the underlying sentiments of the case. I've enjoyed some of Richard C. Meyer's videos. I found some of them to be, on the other hand, to be incredibly chauvinistic and very just nasty for no good reason or whatever. So I tend to think that Richard C. Meyer has shot off his mouth one too many times, and of course the so-called dark roast was the last straw in some people's mind. I think he's made. Look, I don't know what the fuck is wrong with someone who wants to make his way in the comic industry and then decides to say really the most horrible things about the pros who, whether you like what Mark Waid did or not, you make enemies, and your enemies are going to stick it to you. Whether or not it was legal what he did, I don't care. But if Richard C. Myers would have exercised just the tiniest shred of decency and dignity, he'd have a kick-ass Indiegogo and a publisher too to handle his books. So I'm not saying that people should mess around with someone else's business, but the guy shot himself in the foot, and I hope he'll take some goddamn blame for it.
Well, I mean,
Waid
technically, he didn't
and
shoot
Richard,
himself in the foot. Someone else shot him.
For it, big time. Mark is going to end up. The problem with what Mark did is that this is already going to be a very visible legal event. Richard is going to win this walking away, whether Mark takes it to trial or whether Mark does the actual smart thing that I'm sure his lawyers are going to coax him to do, which is to settle this as quickly and quietly as possible. It can't possibly be quiet. This is a humiliating thing. And by the way, and I think it sets a good precedent. I think it sets a good precedent about the interference, the arrogance of SJWs in this comic book industry, and how far they think they're permitted to go when it comes to the livelihoods of people they disagree with. This lawsuit is a long time coming, and Richard's going to win. I hope he wins a lot of money. I hope he wins a full-throated apology from Mark Waid for all of the nonsense that Mark Waid has put him through. And I think that he's going to get all of that and more. And I think it's going to be very, very, very embarrassing and confusing for the SJWs who are currently ruining the mainstream comic book industry. That's not you, Jason. You're just ruining the small press, not mainstream.
Oh, all right. I'm tearing the small press to pieces.
Yeah.
It'll be nothing but atoms when I'm done with it. I'd like to say one thing about what you said about about the importance of the lawsuit. Now, you're welcome to your opinion about what it means for the mighty Comicsgate cause. It's interesting though. This law. Okay, so right now, obviously, everyone's riding high. Oh, he's being Mark Waid is being sued, and your boy Zach is the one suing him. But you say, well, this is a highly visible thing. Well, it's like, well, yes, it is visible at this moment because the lawsuit has been announced. Beyond that, it's completely invisible. It's not anything that's going to be of interest. It's not anything either party is going to be talking about.
You underestimate Comicsgate, how much we get talked about. We're the #1 subject in the comic book industry right now. And this Mark Waid lawsuit, I'm sure they will try to hush it up as Mark Waid is roundly spanked and humiliated in front of the entire industry. We won't let it be quiet. We're going to be very noisy about it.
Yes, of course. And that's my point. You're not going to let it be quiet. Because,
of course not.
Why should it be?
Well, this goes back to my point about why Comicsgate is really a racket. Because ultimately, you guys can't survive 1 week without fresh drama. So I know that your goal in life now is to get Renfamous to engage in some debate like this because you were grooming her for a couple of weeks trying to get her to take the bait, and unfortunately, you got me. But Mark Waid's lawsuit, even if it was settled tomorrow, you would still talk about it for the rest of your life because you have to keep stoking these fires of SJW resentment to justify your existence.
No, there's nothing. Cyberfrog justifies my existence. Cyberfrog, all of my work, my YouTube channel, the fact that I'm a very entertaining commentator and a fantastic comic book artist, award-winning comic book artist that is able to raise nearly $1 million on a single comic book. My personality, my bright charm, my beautiful face. These things all justify my existence, Jason. I don't need to point out that you guys are assholes in order to survive. You guys point that out. You guys do that every single day. And I'll tell you something, it's like you guys are the ones that are constantly harping on Comicsgate as though we were a serious threat to you. I don't think we're I don't think as we exist right now in comics, I don't think we're a threat to you. I think that we're trying to do our own thing. But we're treated like one. You guys can't shut up about us for one single day. You can't stop making up lies. People like you write long threads and essays about how Comicsgate is a racket. You've been roundly rebuffed here tonight and embarrassed. Well, yeah, you have, and this is the thing. It will continue to go on. People see anti-Comicsgate for what they are whenever they're confronted by actual Comicsgate people who actually have a legitimate grievance, have a gripe, have a plan going forward to make better comics for ourselves, not to fix your mess. That is the one thing that's so strange. The idea that we're supposed to convince Marvel Comics and DC Comics to do anything about fixing the disastrous position they find themselves in when they have absolutely no financial or social incentive to do so.
Right.
It's outside of our control. It's outside of our control. But what we can do,
you have no incentive for them to ever actually do the things you claim to want them to do. But
no, we don't care if they do them or not. I don't care. Again, I don't care if Marvel or DC change their own policies. That is on them. Their fans will continue to point out their mistakes. We will continue to make videos pointing out where they're screwing up and where we're succeeding gloriously.
You'd do it if they were doing everything you wanted. You'd be doing that anyway.
No, we wouldn't.
I think
we would still be doing Comicsgate because this is the better.
Comicsgate actually stands for.
No.
A good example of what Comicsgate actually stands for is what happened with Gail Simone, between you and Gail Simone recently.
Go ahead.
You had done a video critiquing Gail Simone. Gail Simone then just recently wrote an open letter to you on the beat.
Well, no, but let's back up.
And then let me finish. And then she wrote this open letter to you. Now, you had the option, because you're always saying, your constant refrain is that Comicsgate says, just leave us alone. Comicsgate says, quit picking on us. Comicsgate says, we don't need your drama, just do your thing and we'll do our thing. Now, every time you were given the opportunity to let a topic drop, you double down on it. You then did a video response to Gail Simone. Keep picking at the scab instead of just letting her have the last word. And you will do this every time, and Comicsgate will do this every time over all topics, large and small, because Comicsgate needs drama, fresh drama every day to justify whatever it is that draws the people in and gets them sending their money over to Indiegogo or dumping it into
Jason,
super chats.
where you are lying, or maybe you're just misinformed. Are you misinformed or are you lying about this?
I am neither. I am acutely aware
no, you are, because you actually
what Comicsgate is up to. I am like Professor X reading your mind. I'm that
okay, good. Well, then here's the thing. You are either lying or perpetrating and perpetuating a lie. The idea that I just did an attack video on Gail Simone is
I didn't say attack video. I did not say attack video.
Shush.
I did not say attack video.
Gail Simone wrote a long message that she posted on her Facebook that called Comicsgate specific.
In response to you.
No,
one at a time. One at a time, because they can't hear you.
You gotta listen. You're not gonna learn anything if you don't shush. Gail Simone wrote a long article denouncing me, denouncing my friends, denouncing Comicsgate. My video was a response to that article. Now, if you actually watched the video, which Gail Simone claims that she did, but did not point this out in her response, Gail is a professional victim, you would see that my video, where I quote unquote attacked Gail, was simply me responding to her nasty, provocative, and defamatory, and by the way, deliberately vague article that she wrote for her Facebook page, which called a comic skater high up in the ranks that she would not name a racist, and somebody who gave her a big long. No, well, Jason, I don't want to leave it open to people's imaginations to guess that it's me.
Well, maybe she means Fox Day.
Gail said that she received a long time ago a private message from somebody who went on at length in the stupidest way possible, quote unquote, justifying gay marriage. She said someone way high up in Comicsgate. Now, Gail does this on purpose. Gail intentionally writes vague messages like that and leaves it open to people's imaginations. Everyone knows that I have a personal relationship with Gail, and people can assume I'm high up in Comicsgate. This might have been me. I cannot allow that to stand. Jason, would you allow that to stand? Would you allow a message like that basically called you homophobic or racist to stand, to let people imagine that she was referring to you? Or would you want to comment to clear the air? My video about Gail Simone, my first video about her, was me clearing the air about that ridiculous, cruel, vague, passive-aggressive Facebook message that she posted. She then pretended as though that had never happened, that my Facebook or my YouTube video came out of the blue. It was just an attack on Gail Simone, which it wasn't. You can watch it and you'll see that I don't attack Gail Simone at all in that video. I simply explained what it was like to work with Gail Simone. And then she writes a long, weepy article about, why would I do this? Why? Have you no decency, sir? To attack Gail Simone out of the blue. And again, she does it again. She does the same tactic over and over again, where she vaguely mentions something and she allows her readers' imaginations to fill in the blanks in a nasty way. Gail Simone talked about how I was depressed for some reason. I don't want to get personal, but Ethan was depressed. Ethan was going through a divorce, and Gail knew that very, very well. And she could have just said, Ethan,
you did this video talking about
Ethan was going through a divorce. She could have just said that, but instead she tried to leave it to people's imaginations that I was mentally ill for some reason, and draw your own conclusions. This is what Gail does, and she needs to be answered every single time she does it until she stops doing it, Jason. Especially when it's about me.
Let me get two cents in here, okay?
All you, buddy. All you. I'm definitely helping out now.
Yeah. I saw your video. I read Gail's piece.
But you didn't read the first one, so you were mistaken about that. You were promoting your.
If whatever. Okay, so in other words, the chronology apparently was Gail Simone said
accused the Comicsgater high up in Comicsgate of being a bigot. She would not name names.
Yeah,
I had to respond to her. I responded to her politely. She responded to my response, pretending that there was no cause for me to make that video. She pretended she was a victim.
Nick, I'd like to.
And I
respond
responded
to this without talking over Ethan.
Okay.
Well, I can't let you perpetuate falsehoods and mistruths. I can't.
No,
if you don't know what you're Jason, if you don't know what you're talking about, I can't allow you to talk.
Let me say something. Hold on. Let me say something. Let me let me say something. What I have run into in my career, both on and off of YouTube, that is eternally frustrating, is when someone will use the implication of the imagination. And I don't know if that's been coined, but I will coin it in leading people to a trough that is big enough for them to make their own villains while avoiding saying something that's an outright lie. So that I certainly understand the frustration of that. Jason, if you can respond.
Let me get in here because you're supposed to be moderating, not speaking Ethan's words again.
I'm not speaking. No. Hold on. This is my stream. And I am not speaking Ethan's words. I'm talking about something very specific that people who watch my show will know. Because we have dealt with a giant cuck on the internet called Maddox for the past 2 years. And Maddox would like to do the very thing that Gail Simone was apparently doing. He would imply by letting people make their own associations about who he intended the message to be about. And I think that's a garbage move. Now, I'm going to let you... Hold on! No. Stop talking over me. This is my stream.
You're supposed to be moderating.
I am going to moderate you right out of it in just a second if you don't let me finish the 2 seconds I have left. I am drunk, sir. I am drunk, sir, and you will respect my stream.
Jason, just let him finish.
Okay, I have 2 seconds left in which I'm about to say. No, you're getting muted like a cuck. Now you will listen to me muted like a cuck. This is my stream, and I want to say the final words, which is, you have 1 minute to go, sir. Thank you. Now unmute yourself. Good Christ. You muted yourself. I can't even unmute you because you muted yourself. How am I supposed to moderate if you won't unmute yourself?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you. I muted you and then you muted you, so I couldn't unmute you. Now you go. You have a minute. Go.
Jesus Christ. I'm not going to speak for Gail Simone. She speaks perfectly well for herself. This article that she wrote for The Beat, I couldn't believe how moderate and flattering it was to Ethan. It was the most generous, even-tempered, and well-spoken response that anyone that like Ethan Van Sciver could possibly dream of getting on the best of all possible worlds. Gail Simone is just to base her personality on this article she wrote for The Beat, which I believe is called This Stuff All Sucks, or I think it was the name of it. It was the generosity of spirit and the class she showed was almost outrageous compared to what Ethan has just said about her. I think everyone who has any opinion on what the relationship between Gail and Ethan is at this moment should read Gail Simone's article responding to Ethan Van Sciver's video, and you will see a person who is kind, smart, and even-handed, and who seems to really think, Ethan, that you're a pretty good guy. I don't know where you're getting all this hatred for Gail. I think she likes you.
Let me explain why she's a terrible human being. The article is constructed in such a way as to leave you, somebody who doesn't know what's going on, with the impression that she's being generous and thoughtful and really considerate and that she thinks I'm great. But then to people who actually know what's going on and know what she's saying and know what she's referring to, what she's not mentioning, and et cetera, you realize what she's doing, Jason. She's smarter than you. She's way smarter than you.
No, I think you're outsmarting yourself with resentment for something. I don't know what it is. But
well, let me explain, because I pulled up the article right here.
I'm reading it too.
Okay, let's go through this. Yeah. Ethan conveniently forgets. Okay, so I just watched some of Ethan's long video rant about me, and it's the oddest thing ever. It's not odd. She acts like it's a long video rant that it wasn't. It was 15 minutes long. I timed it. She lies and says it's 90 minutes. It's not. It's 15 minutes within a 90-minute video. The rest of the 90 minutes is me talking about Star Wars. She does not talk about how it's an answer to a Facebook message that she left calling somebody else within Comicsgate a bigot. She doesn't mention that because it doesn't help her case that I'm a Looney Tune who is just ranting out of the blue, out of nothing for no reason. She goes on for 3 paragraphs talking about me in a vague way about some vague depression and mental illness that she helped me through. She says that she talked to me every single day. She didn't. She talked to me 3 times during my divorce, which she does not mention. She leaves that out because she's trying to leave you with the impression that I'm mentally ill, have some sort of depression problems based on nothing but just chemical imbalance, perhaps. Ethan is crazy. Ethan's a loony, and I helped him. I was his friend. That's the impression that she's trying to leave you with.
All right,
she goes on, no, let me finish this.
All right.
Let me tell you what Gail Simone is saying in this article.
Okay.
Because you don't get it, because it was aimed at you, because you are a simpleton, and you are just reading this on a surface level. You don't know Gail Simone. You are. Listen, if you fall for this, you fell for this, you are a simpleton. People who know Gail Simone personally, and I include people who work with her, see this for what it is. See this for what it is. So, okay, there we go. There's a lot of stuff. There's facts I admitted, and then she goes on and on and on, talking about Firestorm and our working relationship on Firestorm in a way that denigrates DC Comics. It holds DC Comics responsible for her bad behavior on Firestorm, which it was abominable. The editor had real trouble with her. She spent most of the time trying to sabotage the project. She's quite right when she explains that she didn't want to do the project. I did talk her into it because I thought she was a professional. She drove everyone crazy on that project, but she pretends that everyone else at the New 52 had equal problems as we did on Firestorm. Bleeding Cool actually wrote an article about the treachery of Gail Simone on Firestorm at the time. I encourage you to go read that. It's pretty enlightening. Gail goes on about how she, Day of the Composites, and then she goes on. The next section of this is her bragging about how much work she has to let everyone know that she's quite busy. That's interesting, but it has nothing to do with me, and it's entirely about promoting herself. And then she goes on to lie about what she did to me on November 9th, 2016. She quote tweeted me after the election and opened me up for abuse to her crazy lunatic fan base. That is why I blocked her on Twitter and have not spoken to her since. She knew what she was doing. She was deliberately opening me up to targeted harassment from far left wingers who were upset on November 9th. I was celebrating the election of the God Emperor Trump. And what she did was she, knowing my politics, lied about me on Twitter and quote tweeted me to her upset, emotional, crazy, probably dangerous fans who have threatened to slit my throat in the past and continue to do so from then on. And with that, she closes it with, good luck, Ethan, on your project. Congratulations on your success. A totally disingenuous closing paragraph. Jason, you need to actually read between the lines sometimes and ask yourself some questions and read things with skepticism. And wonder why, what the content of this is actually saying, what it imparts to a reader, not just the words, but the tone, the message, and everything underlying it. Perhaps what she's omitting, and so many things that she's omitting here paint her as a pretty dreadful, treacherous person.
Yes.
People who know her pretty well.
Okay,
Ethan,
got it. I do respect what you're saying, but can we stop trash talking her just for 1 second?
No, she's a pile of garbage.
But let's stop.
Who else are we going to talk about other than you and me? We're going to talk about Vox Day. We'll talk about Gail Simone. What other ancillary figures, on the periphery should we talk about when we're talking about Comicsgate? You brought her up.
Can I interject here?
You tried to paint her as a heroic figure who blah blah blah. You got suckered in by this essay, just like a lot of people did. You are a simpleton, Jason.
Here's what I'm gonna do. Here's what I'm gonna do.
I really like to be able to respond to this. And
well,
I'm
if you wait,
about a lot of things.
Hold on, everybody. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let Jason respond, and then I think we should close it out, and I will read super chats, and you gentlemen can stay with me or not as long as you want. I am very thankful to both of you for coming on the show, debating. We're almost 3 hours in. I don't want to keep you from anything else you may be doing. So I will let Jason respond, and then I will free either of you to leave, and I will finish by reading every super chat that has come in, because I feel that that is something I should do for the people who so graciously give me cash. So Jason, why don't you have the final word, and then we'll go ahead and close this out.
All right. So let me begin this by repeating something I said earlier. Earlier in the debate, I was trying to speak for Comicsgate, and I referred to Comicsgate speaking with the voice of calling people, faggots. Ethan, at that time, believed I was talking about him.
Why do you keep saying that?
Oh, hey! Is this my time to speak, please?
Okay. It is, no. But I would prefer not to have a channel strike because some of your stupid fans will strike my channel because they don't like me because of you saying a word that I will not say on stream. I don't even say DAMN on this stream, and you've said FAGGOT 3 times, and I don't want one of your stupid fans or one stupid anti-Comicsgater who thinks that I'm some Comicsgate spokesman just because I gave a frickin' legal opinion to come on and strike my stream because of something you said. So no, because your stupid people, your stupid side is so ridiculous that I have to censor my speech. No, you shut up. You shut up. No, you're done. You're done. You're done. You're shut off. No, your stupid fans and your stupid side will knock me off of the internet because of things that I want to say. I can't say words because of your stupid people, not because of me, not because of me. And I'm sick of it. I'm a free speech absolutist. I think you should be able to say whatever you want, but you're on my stream and you're dropping words that will get me kicked off the internet and demonetize me. Bite me, buddy. Bite me. You've said that word that no one on this stream will say 3 times. You shut your mouth. You shut your mouth. No, I'm muting you again. You shut your mouth, sir. You don't come on my stream and say negative, derogatory labels about the LGBTQ community because you think we will. Bite me. I've been neutral this entire time. You can get bent, sir. You can get out of my house if you don't like it, but you will not come on here and drop that word that will get me kicked off the internet and ruin my livelihood. Back the F off! If you want to talk again, you say that word again and you're gone. You're gone. You hear me? I'm done. You're in my house. Stop forgetting that. This is my house.
Brought to you by the makers of Fireball.
You have one of the biggest names in Comicsgate, and you're a virtual nobody in the comics industry. You shut your mouth. No, you're done. I'm done. You unmuted yourself and interrupted me on my own stream. Get out. Get out. Get out. I'm done with you. I'm done with it. Give this guy the opportunity to talk to one of the biggest voices in Comicsgate. I give him all the courtesy in the world. He comes onto my stream and says FAGGOT 3 times. Bite me. Get out. I'm done. Ethan, you are a saint for coming on and debating someone who will reduce themselves to that kind of language. I'm done with it. I'm done with that. I'm sorry that you had to sit there and.
I appreciate that, but could you let's take a breath because you've got to feed your or read your super chats for your fans.
That's coming. We're not done with the stream. We're done with him. He's over the wall. He's got to go back. I am sorry, sir, that someone had to come on here and malign you as a Vox Day-ite Nazi. I was biting my tongue the entire time because I was trying to be fair, and I'm done with it. I will not deal with that. I am so sick and tired of these people who speech police everything I say and you say, and yet they'll come on here and drop the most disgusting derogatory phrase that is persona non grata on the internet, all because they think that we'll say it. I can't believe it. I cannot believe the disrespect that guy was showing me. I can't believe it.
Well, welcome to Comicsgate. This is what we're fighting against. This kind of attitude. This kind of individual. And all we can do is we got a good opportunity tonight to show a lot of people, 1,220 people, exactly who it is that we're talking about, who we're fighting against. And Nick, I feel your I feel your frustration over it. I think I held my own, though. Was I okay, counselor?
I think, and again, here I am with this problem where I have to try and remain neutral in the face of one person making points and the other person not making much of anything except against people who aren't here who have been largely denounced by not only you, but the fans. It's ridiculous. By me? Like, Vox Day left a comment on my video being a salty little baby about the fact that he tried to commit trademark infringement. And it's absolutely ridiculous to sit here for 2 hours and talk about Vox Day. I'm so done with this. I can't believe it. I mean, I know you have to deal with it way more than I do. You deserve a ton of respect for having to put up with that. But this is... and the dumb thing is, I think this dummy is going to go on to Twitter and be like, well, that was an unfair debate with an unfair moderator, where I sat there and let you guys go back and forth, and he simply wasn't able to hold his own because his bucket has 1,000 holes in it. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, that is Fireball for you, everyone.
Brought to you by Fireball Whiskey.
Correct. Yeah, look, my takeaway from that debate is I enjoyed it. I had a good time talking to Jason. I do like having debates. Jason is it's reassuring to watch someone's argument against you completely unravel to the point where they're talking about other people and what other people did. It's reassuring. It makes, I think, people who support Comicsgate, who watch this, reassures them as well in their positions. I mean, this is eye-opening and enlightening, and I think it was time well spent. I have no problem with it. But yeah, read those super chats. Yeah,
if you're hanging out, feel free to comment as you go. If you need to leave at any time, do so, because I won't keep you any longer than necessary. We're back. These super chats, by the way, are back from 1:31 in the morning. It is now 2 in the morning, so we're a half hour behind. So here we go.
Boy, that Dick Masterson would have been proud of you. I swear to God, that was a full-on Dick Masterson rant.
I've got a decent amount of rage stored up in this body still. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Risey Toxic Fan Lee says more money. Leo the Bum Tickler says, now wait a minute, Jason, no! Harkening back to the Ralph retort. Polyfant says, try looking at Comicsgate from the perspective of a left-leaning creator trying to make work expressing criticism of his or her politics rather than seeing dissidents as a gateway to the extreme right. Hanuman Ho says, let's keep this capitalist train going. Zebulon Pike says, and this is my effing Friday night. Thank you. Gojirify says, what is Jason's persona? We'll never know. I assume he will unfollow me on Twitter very soon. Diablo AZ says, as a real trial lawyer, Jason is guilty of being a cuck. Rambo action figure EVS is the clear winner. B words. Gojirify says Jason yif. Django Manco says at least Richard is fulfilling his promise, unlike Pace, unlike Eigel, and unlike Quinn. That's brutal. Liam says, legit question, Jasif, if you were in EVS's shoes facing slander and libel daily, how would you conduct yourself? Would you just be a punching bag? I think the answer to that is yes, he would just be a punching bag for the sake of the liberal cause, is what it seems to be. James S. says, Richard would have a publisher if not for people like you, Jason, harassing innocent people because of politics. Shame on you. Jack Straw said, Zach said mild insults. SJWs tried to ruin his life. Gojirify said, Jason, why so angry? Why you love creating drama? Anakin Skywalker says, you have your moments, Ethan. Not many of them, but you do have them. If you're really a fan, name who said that and where. Bet you can't. That's a challenge to you on Star Wars, I think. Did you want to respond to that one, Ethan?
What was it again? I was reading Twitter.
Oh, you have your moments, Ethan. Not many of them, but you do have them. If you're really a fan, name who said that and where. Bet you can't.
Who cares?
That's
no,
the
I don't want to respond to that.
You answered properly. Who cares? Who cares? Yeah. Lamonk says, Jason, stop projecting your toxicity on others. FO. Zevafract just gave a donation. Thank you so much for that, sir or ma'am. Hold on, I got to get back to where that was. Okay, there we go. The YouTube system, I'm sure you know, when you get backed up on Super Chats, the YouTube system for finding them all is not great. Yeah, it is not fantastic. Tranquil Blue says, I just got in and you're teetering on 1,200 viewers. GD Rekieta. Painful Buggery says, SJWs can't let things go. It's been 4 years and SJWs keep blaming Gamergate for everything. I just want to play video games. Liberal BTW. Terry Bogard says, DS Homer Simpson needs to be in a cave with Noel Stevenson, Renfamous, Wade, Gail Simone, Chelsea Kane, Dan Didio, Joe Quesadilla, and all SJW soy. Darkman McEdgeface says, at Rekieta, what kind of scotch do you like to drink? I answered Lagavulin 16 is my go-to, but I like pretty much all types. Michael Strelitz says, Jason, you come across as being a fool and no idea on the real world, stuck in your little bubble, burst it will or deflate. No idea about anything, just full of hate. Look in the mirror, Jason. And guys, Jason is not here, so I apologize for that. I don't like to kick people from streams, but that was getting a little ridiculous, and I'm guessing he'll see this later. Matisava says, have any of you tried Conor McGregor's proper whiskey yet? Slay that vampire EVS. Snowtep says, Jason, just stick a fork in it, you're done. Clinging Mars, why would you be quiet about illegal action? That's a real good question, isn't it? Harry Bergeron, well, he deserved it. I think that's what you're missing, Snowtep, is Zach deserved it. He deserves someone to interfere with his contract because we don't like Zach, right? That's the answer that Jason won't say. Clinging Mars says, why? That was Clinging Mars, not Snowtep, sorry. Harry Bergeton says, victim blaming, nasty. Tank Ferret says, Nick, drink some water, friend. I will have some right after the stream. Zevafrax says, Jason should have sent a better debater to argue his viewpoint. He has undermined his own position with this immaturity. John Russell says, Rackets, you win the interwebs. Gojirify says, Goebbels would have loved Jason. Jack Straw says, Gotham Pizza. Matty P on the road says, rage against the dying of the soy. Darkman McEdgeface says, oh goodness, look at the time. Scotch o'clock, sip. Jason Pirtle says, Mentos out for dung breath. Tranquil Blue says, pour a bump of makers for yourself. Throw that fire down. Polyfant says, base lawyer. Emery Kalam says, and this is why we call them SJWs. The man named Kiwi says, I love you, Rackets. Good rant. Otaku Sakura says, get him. You're doing a great job, Nick. Get him. Titus Andreman says, best stream ever. Cave says, you have to go back. You have to go back. Django Manco says, the meme gods are smiling down upon us this night. Diablo AZ says, Nick, you are the man. John Russell says, in this debate, first place EVS, second place Rackets, third place ? Snowtep says, my Minnesotan brother, you deserve every penny of this. Get some good rest tonight, bro. Gojirify says, Nick, you're going to send Vox a link to this chat? Well, Vox watched this video. The chat is up on it. So Edgar Cruz says, God bless you, Rekieta. You're the president now. Prawn says, I like beer. Jabba the Cuck says, you are a living trebuchet. Rick Nikita says, oh my goodness. A stupid YouTube. He says, you just grammed his butt. Insect Facet says, Nick, this is your liver. We need to talk. Don't worry, I'm assuming it'll be calling very soon. Django Manco says he's getting cannibalized for sure now. Elliot Fernandez says, you fellas made me proud. Clay Early says, you are an effing legend. Love you, brother. Love you back, buddy. Snark.com, thank you for your donation. There's no message attached. Michelle Mead says, righteous anger, love to you and St. Ethan of Pi. Read your email soon, Rekieta. I did read my email and I will be contacting him soon, Michelle, if you're still there. Spookmeyer says, as a Twitter lawyer, I find Jason to be a cuck and I'm filing a motion for a comic about a raging fireball-fueled lawyer superhero. Do it, EVS. Let's see. Ian Howe says, is EVS going to jump over to his channel for a live stream or does he have frogs to draw? I need to plan my morning. That's up to you, buddy.
I'll do it. Yeah, we'll do an after debate.
Okay. Michael Strelitz says, just showed that SJW are the bigots and racists and anti-everything. True Colors came out. Go EVS, a person of honor and respect. Insidious Application says, this is what social terrorists and cultural saboteurs do. Who've been censored by or educated through grievance studies. Hashtag so-called squared. Jack Straw says, Ethan, talk about Gotham Pizza. And Hanneman Ho says, came for the racket, got Vox Day. And that is the end. Thank you all so much. Zebulon Pike just said, the true star of this debate is the moderator. Thank you. I am but a humble drinker. But thank you all. for coming. Terry Bogard, Ethan Van Sciver wins, fatality, Bust Wolf. Guys, you'll never hear me tell you to stop giving me money, but let's let Ethan go do his stream. This has been 3 hours and 6 minutes of just great interaction. Thank you all for watching. If you're not subbed to my channel, please do so. There's so much more to come on all of these subjects and more, probably subjects you didn't know you were interested in. I would like to extend a huge thank you to my guest, Ethan. I would also like to extend a thank you to my guest, Jason, even though he had to peacefully sunset himself out of this chat. I was really appreciative of him coming on, but I just cannot have words on my stream that will get my livelihood struck from me because of vengeful.
He got warned once.
Yes. You know? Yes. Actually twice, if we're being, I warned him the first time he said it. I said, please don't say that on my stream. And then the second time I was a little more firm, but yeah, I'm done with it. And then he kept trying to talk over me while I was berating him. How dare you talk over me while I berate you on my own stream? Not cool. Watermelon Platypus says, hey, E. And that is the last one I'm going to read. If you send me any more super chats, guys, I'm not going to read them. I will appreciate them, but we need to let Ethan go. He's got a busy day, and I have a date with a bathroom and then a bed. So thank you guys so much for coming out. Ethan, again, thank you so much for what you do.
Thank you. Anytime you need me, I'm here.
Thanks, buddy. You have a good night, my friend. And I'm going to close the stream, and then I'll give you a nice warm exit after that. So thank you all, and we'll talk to you soon.